everyone, and welcome to The Race, Law and Everything, episode 253. We're coming to you on another cold Perth Wednesday night this time. A little bit late due to conflicting schedules. Anyway, I'm here with Nolsey, and Fluoride is joining us as well from over east.
Hello.
Happy to be back.
You're looking forward to Sunday?
Yeah, looking forward to seeing what happens. But I was looking at bloody protests over in Canada, and they see around about the Mardi Gras, and yeah, it looks like they're taking any chance to hit everybody over the head. So yeah, counter protest is for the counter protest. We'll be here.
Yeah, they'll have their presence made. In Melbourne, anyway, they definitely turn up in numbers. I don't know about the rest of the country. Maybe in Sydney. But, yeah, I don't know. In Perth, they do get out and about every now and then. You see them at, they actually still bother going up to, turning up to One Nation meetings, which seems a bit redundant nowadays. I don't know why they bother doing that.
Beating a dead horse still gets you points.
Yeah, well, we've got one story on One Nation tonight just showing you how much they continue to cuck out. But anyway, getting on to the show's content, we've actually got quite a bit for you today. And look, just to break with what has been a recent tradition, we won't start off with Israel and Gaza. Let's start off with the very exciting topic of the economy. Decided to go with this because we've just finished up the 3-day productivity roundtable. So this was a meeting in Canberra chaired by our treasurer, Jim Chalmers, and it's supposed to tackle the nation's ever-dwindling productivity rate. If you want to know what the current productivity rate is for Australia, it's actually negative 1%. So we're in
How's that
negative
being measured?
territory. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure exactly.
Is it human? Yeah, I was going to say, is it
consuming more than we put out?
I'm not sure, but that is what they said, and the government's target is actually for a positive 1.2% rate of productivity.
I remember in some of my basic economics class, one of the big measurements or one of the big variables in calculating productivity was the amount of human capital in your country versus I imagine they measure 1,000 fucking commodities and productions, but I was like, oh yeah, how many chairs do 1,000 people in your country put together? And I think because if we're being flooded with 1,500 people a day, we'll have to be increasing our production rate of chairs at the percentage rate of 1,500 people a day relative to our population to stay
plus
neutral.
1.5%.
Yes.
Well, so I guess that would explain how we can get into negative territory then, in that regard. But still. GDP goes up, of course, just because you have more people in the economy spending their money, so that will always go up. And unfortunately, that is one of the measures that people pay more attention to, rather than productivity or living standards going up. Anyway, this meeting had stakeholders from every sector of the economy, so the two main ones being the business lobby and the ACTU. Naturally, they have differences on the exact kind of economic reform that we should be pursuing. But here was the major findings or recommendations. So one is that, they want to simplify housing regulation. So, of course, with the housing crisis and everything, one of the things they often complain about is that it takes too long to actually get a housing project started, even if that's just a single plot of land. So simplifying the regulation, in some cases just actually breaking it down, abolishing the regulation. Now, the first thing that I think of when I see a process like this is, they're trying to rush construction. And I always think, well, won't that come at the expense of safety? Because that's
Yes.
obviously one of the reasons why we have regulation is because constructing a building is dangerous. So you want the proper safeguards in place to make sure that people don't injure themselves or kill themselves in the making
Oh,
of that house building.
here's the fun thing: injuries only happen if you report them.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
But
Also, like,
the thing is-
we've been scaling towards like tofu dang construction for like 30 years now. I think literally we're replacing double cavity brick walls with this like steel frame system that I've been harping on about. We're replacing decent construction methods with like literal wavy concrete 2-story bug boxes with like sign bond veneer. So I saw an apartment getting made that way, which is horrific. Another technology that's coming in, which is dangerous, but allows you to create like a multi-resident dwelling, i.e., like a high-density apartment building, is a tech called AFS, and that's crane in place, pour concrete in it formwork that you don't strip. It just becomes the wall thereafter. You just render the inside like a wall, and you basically have a
pretty efficient.
Yeah, it's efficient, but you're basically quite literally living in a brutalist concrete box with a veneer of paint on it.
Well, look,
There's a demand for
Claire O'Neill, who is the housing minister, she said that there's broad support for a pause to the National Construction Code, which, of course, is where the regulations are outlined. Now, she did emphasize, though, that the pause would not include safety issues that the code deals with. So she's assuring us that while they're putting a pause on like other regulations impeding the process, that won't come at the expense of safety. So I don't know. I certainly hope not, because it seems to me that like with the housing crisis and the fact that we don't want to stop migrants from making it worse, is that, well, we just cut corners.
Yes.
We build houses faster than what we're supposed to. They don't go through the necessary checks and balances that you expect them to do.
Well, they
And,
hire somebody who will push past through the failures of those checks and balances, and they're the person who gets hired to look at other people's work. So,
yeah, yes men who just tick every.
Yep. I think, did we lose Finian there?
we've lost Finian. I can still hear you though. I was concerned
I
it was
can
on
slightly
my end.
also feel right. I can slightly hear you breathing.
You can slightly hear me breathing. All right, and I point my thing further pointedly. I guess my nose hairs must be getting pretty long. Yeah. Shall we keep
Possibly.
mumbling until Finian turns back up?
Well, yeah, I would like to actually have a look at the construction code because, again, I'm pretty well versed in it. So when this gets released, I'll.
Okay, I am back now. Yeah, so look, even though we're being told that safety is not going to be put at risk here, I have trouble believing that when the government says, well, look, let's just speed up the process and push everything through and build houses really quickly, because they're not going to meet their target. Remember, they've aimed to build 1.2 million new homes by 2029. And we've had several forecasts from Treasury saying that that just is not going to happen. So in desperation, the government may well just start, cutting basic safety procedures just so that we can build a few more houses.
If the choice is between ticking the box and getting fired, and someone else ticking the box, we're breeding quite the people of box tickers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like we're basically careening towards this type of construction you see in some parts of like Southeast Asia and etc.
Oh.
And also in some certain parts of the States as well. So again, like a lot of like anti-Chinese influencer type people call it tofu deng, as I mentioned earlier. But it's literally just, it's like, okay, well, we'll allow for materials of a certain grade. We'll allow for low megapascal shear of concrete. We'll allow for possibly even lower grades of tube testing. Yeah, bamboo scaffolding. Yeah, we'll allow for all that because at the end of the day, we might need that. I think the idea of a single-story, half-acre house in this country has a lifespan of about 10 years, if not less.
Oof.
Right.
10 years, and then you have to collapse it. So that's going to create a knock-on effect and a half. Of a good example, minus the health risk, would be how you have to take out how you have to remove from every property you have bloody asbestos. So
yes.
So we're knocking that down the line. That all right? These things were built in the era of go quickness. Knock them down. This has got to be knocked down. That's got to be knocked down, and that's taking away from our productivity into the future. If I can imagine a court case going through, to stop and slow down these things, some coronial inquest routines put forward that they have to go through before they say, yes, we can go pretty quick on this. Hopefully it happens. I mean, there's muddied interest in doing it. You got people with big properties, owning lots of properties that should be able to do that. And will they?
But again, while we had that little break there, you're talking about the fact that, like, okay, so property investors might see like a reduction in returns. I still think they'll get their pound of flesh either which way. The amount of people that are coming into the demand side of the market is just it's unprecedented in any country. 1,500 a day.
That's only because we can only squeeze that many on the planes per day.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the limiting factor, really. It's not visa approvals. It's not like a supply of human capital that is willing to come here.
Okay. Now, one of the areas of agreement, unfortunately, between the business lobby and the trade union movements was, well, something we covered a few weeks ago, which is they want the reintroduction of a carbon tax.
Fuck.
Now, remember, like, we basically have one. We have the safeguard mechanism that creates carbon emission limits for a company if you're involved in like a high emissions industry. So, that only applies to a handful of companies around the country, whereas the carbon tax just applied to everyone. However, we're now in a business environment where most business supports the carbon tax. So even though, the public largely rejected it, that was a big reason why Tony Abbott was elected in 2013. It looks like now, considering the vested interests all support it, that this is something that, I don't know, maybe is inevitable. It's just going to bring back.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. But I think a lot of companies kind of went on the support side of the carbon tax later because in between the interim of the first introduction of a carbon tax and some smaller, not carbon taxed carbon taxes, not called a carbon tax or carbon tax not in name only, a lot of companies have been hit by some pretty nasty bills because of recent environmental reforms. And those bills have been out of the blue. Probably if you're the type of person who's at the head of these companies, you want a steady, known expense because that's easier to work around, and that's easier to level off onto your customers, which a carbon tax would be. It would be a known amount at the beginning of the quarter, be a known amount at the beginning of the financial year, and then therefore you could adjust prices accordingly.
Right. I assume also it would, there's sort of a libertarian argument that also it would keep out smaller competitors who simply can't afford. Yeah, because
can you put a price on that? Can you put a price on cutting down your competition?
Yeah, well, because the safeguard mechanism only, at the moment anyway, is only really applying to big companies. So it sounds like a lot of those companies like Rio Tinto, for example, which support it, are saying, well, let's just make it go across the board. And that's a good way to flush out smaller competition, because this is an extra business expense that we can afford, but they can't.
We can afford to avoid it via paying the lawyers to figure it out.
Or that as well. Yeah. Now, that said, here in Western Australia, our Labor Party is said to be very upset about that. Now, we are, of course, the minerals powerhouse of the country. That's just true. No one pays more in GST than we do, and gets so little back. And so it seems that, like, no matter who's in power in WA, they never seem to like these these extra taxes or extra regulations or whatever that are on the mining sector, and that goes for the carbon tax as well. We're flush with funds here in WA because we have a pretty vibrant mining sector, and the Labor Party here is saying no, like this would be bad. However, they're one small voice out there, and I'd say that people would be listening closer to what Rio Tinto and BHP have to say in their combined effort, rather than what the state treasurer has to say.
Yeah, who's boss?
Yeah.
God, didn't we basically have to basically eject a state treasurer recently because he more or less kind of annoyed BHP a little bit too much for a little bit too long?
Not something I heard.
Oh, maybe.
Businesses
maybe
too
I'm getting
big
too
to
deep
fail
into
are
the
pretty
theories.
frightening.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Nolsey, you might be interested to know, I'm drinking a Turk Roach at the moment. I brought it back. So this is my homebrew stout with a Turkish delight flavor.
Oh,
Actually turned out pretty well. I was pretty happy with it. It was better than the first one I did.
Yeah, tell me when you bring back the Lee Peterson, Jesse Lee Peterson.
That one's a bit harder to make, but yeah, I might bring that back sometime. Okay, now look, other proposals from the Productivity Roundtable we will cover throughout the episode, just depending on what heading they fall under, such as housing. But just on other economic news, the tariffs that the US has imposed on us, with the baseline rate being 10%, we're starting to feel the effects of that now. So shipping from Australia to the United States has just been shown to be dropping. Australia Post have announced that shipping packages that are only small and therefore not really profitable is just going to be axed. So that is really going to upset things. So it said Australia Post actually suspended most postage to the United States. So that has included pretty much all low-value parcels. And a lot of Australian businesses, as you can imagine, are hurting because of that.
That's gonna ruin a lot of the little artistry sites that send things. Me and Nolsey have a very huge vested interest in one of these little sites sending stuff, and that's gonna stuff the profitability, and wham bam, we're gonna lose a lot of indie developer routines sending to places that America takes advantage of. Bugger.
Yeah, and you just gotta wonder why, because I mean the purpose of a tariff is to protect domestic industry, but the problem is, like, America barely has any domestic industry left to protect. So, like the end result that you get here is simply just like less trade, but not more manufacturing. which is supposed to be the goal of imposing tariffs. But that's not what we're seeing. I certainly haven't seen any numbers about, manufacturing going up in the United States, about jobs being brought back onshore. You're not seeing that.
Opened markets.
Yeah, I mean, you are seeing a lot of prices rise and a lot of exports being cancelled and people even losing their jobs, but that seems to be the only thing that's happening as a result of these tariffs.
Yeah, I was going to say the only time I've heard about manufacturing moving or manufacture like being brought into a country was the one time that that Apple tried to manufacture iPhones in India instead of China, and then it gave up when they couldn't because of the level of shit they found in it.
Shit piss, probably curry powder,
shit particles.
tuppence of turmeric.
Yeah, they mainly do like textiles and clothes, I think, in India and Bangladesh.
They do a little bit of forging, cheap ass stuff. If you've seen some of those videos, where, the bloody Indian style forges, getting you the shiny little bangles,
metal and aluminium.
Electronics is a bit too complicated for them, I think. Okay, so let's move on to housing. Now, one of the announcements during the roundtable was that the government is going to bring forward the start date of the first homebuyer guarantee. So what is that? Well, it allows a first homebuyer to purchase a property with just a 5% deposit without paying a lender mortgage insurance penalty, and the government assuring the remainder of the deposit in the case of a default. So there you go. Sounds a lot like the what caused the subprime mortgage debacle in America, which of course was the precursor to the GFC in 2008. I think this might bring a few new home buyers into the market, but as has been pointed out by economists of every stripe, this is simply going to increase prices long term. We already mentioned how housing is not on track at the moment. We're not getting the 1.2 million homes by 2009. So if you're not meeting the demand side with increased supply, well, the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to push prices back up again because you're increasing the amount of demand. You increase demand without increasing supply, prices go up.
Yeah, there we go.
So if basically you have your lazy $100,000 in order to buy a $2 million fucking flat in order to live into it, and you get in there, and at the end of it, you haven't been able to make the $2 million to buy your flat because everything keeps going up and your money's not worth as much anymore. Then eventually the government pays out, debt rises up. Yeah, that seems par for the course of let it be tomorrow's problem.
Again, it's
come up with another scheme.
It's just interesting how many tips and tricks and schemes and plots we're trying to put together in this country rather than addressing this one fucking issue that we wouldn't even have to. Well, we'd literally just have to say no to implement.
Because they won't implement the only solution there is to it, which is cutting migration. That is the only way you're going to solve it.
Well, buddy, you don't want to get regime changed there. Oh, fuck.
We have to come up with these new, novel ways of doing it, like a government-backed deposit or using your superannuation, which
what
was
are they
the Liberal
waiting
Party's.
for? We're just into the future. Do you think it's just going to be the next generation of politicians' things to be on, to say no? Just finally say, yep, got enough of them now. Fuck right off anymore.
It's getting to the point where I might even support using superannuation to as a deposit for a house.
Oh. Well, yeah, that's probably up, and they've done it with COVID. People seem to have been pretty positive with it, buying the giant ass tellies.
Which would increase demand and prices
Increased prices, yes.
as well as eat into people's retirement fund. That doesn't sound very good to me either.
Who expects to live to 70 anyway? Fuck.
So look, they did say that there is a backlog of about 30,000 projects in Australia that are awaiting environmental approval. Now, if this is the kind of regulation they're talking about pausing, then I'm definitely in support of that because, of course, we need some basic environmental checks and balances, but often these are really extreme. These are green groups who say that there's some like endangered species of lesbian beetle in some area, and you can't
Hermaphroditic beetle.
and then you find out that there's basically no threat to it whatsoever. It's a very common thing. Aboriginal groups do this as well because they'll say that it upsets the rainbow serpent or some shit.
For now.
Quite literally, a dude making a bridge on his own property he got fined for it because it upset the rainbow serpent.
That's right.
We've covered that.
If that is the kind of regulation and red tape that they're talking about, then absolutely, we need to chainsaw that stuff. I'm just, like I said, just worried that they'll also start to roll back safety measures as well.
Well,
okay.
You're talking about the housing. We won't roll back safety measures. Does that mean they'll roll back environmental? Can we expect giant dust plumes getting off these construction sites because it takes a while to kind of wet the piles of dust down before they start working?
Well, I mean, we're going to start getting that anyway, just simply because of the fact that companies are employing more Indian engineers now.
I was going to say the entire first page of engineering reports is about to disappear, and the first page is like soil sensitivity, like wind, acoustic requirements, etc.
Oh, wind. So if it's bad environment, send the boys up in the cherry picker while it's windy to get lightning struck.
Oh yeah, and also that's another thing for during earthworks, the wind factor is included. I can't remember if that was the C, D, or R rating from memory. Well, probably not R because R's corrosion. But yeah, no, that entire first page of construction engineering reports is just going to disappear because those are one of the things that slows down and bottlenecks construction, because those are then considerations taken in the line of consideration for construction processes and material selection, and what engineer, what person needs to sign off down the line.
You need extreme construction to avoid the weather affecting your progress and how should I say it? You can have a nice big old shed above everything, but when the wind comes sideways, you still got to stop work.
Yeah, maybe, but yeah. So I'm putting my money on that as the first thing that's going to disappear. The requirement for that first page. Probably not all at once, just bit by bit. I think all at once would shock people, but over like a 5-year period, you could make that disappear.
And they've got an interest to do it, to get that pump up those numbers.
Well, again, coastal cement costs more than stock standard cement, and builders pay for it out of pocket. So does the client at the end of the day when the cost.
I'm reminded of those poor bastards up the coast that built too close to the edge of the water, and they fucking just half of their house collapsing into the bay, into the no, not the bay, the bloody ocean, because it's just so close to the sand dune, and then wham, their house is coming down. $4 million house, half of it gone.
Yeah, well, we might see some more of that stuff in the future. And again, Vinny and I have been harping on about this for years at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, what you predicted is finally coming true, unfortunately. Yeah. I wish you were wrong, but no.
I was being hyperbolic to sell it to people. I was being hyperbolic so I could get into people's heads about it. And now I'm not even being hyperbolic.
Now you have to get a more nuanced take on what the future is going to look like.
Maybe Sunday I'm going to wear a sandwich board and nothing else, just saying the end of construction regulation is near.
No, I mean,
and the back half it's going to read like that one sandwich board from Die
Hard.
Yeah.
information given to you from white nationalists is basically a whole bunch of stuff that they wish wasn't true. But we will be proven right every time. The predictions we make, unfortunately, come true. We wish we were wrong, but we're not. Anyway, another form of regulation, this time this is coming from a report from Queensland, is accessibility standards. Now, that basically means a house equipped for a disabled person. Do you have like a ramp and stuff for a wheelchair to get up and that kind of stuff?
Do your lifts work?
Yeah, but here I think they're just talking about housing, which, well, I mean, okay, if you're in an apartment block, then yeah, that would matter.
Yep, there's not going to be a giant ass ramp in your apartment block. There's going to be your lift as you're disabled, getting up and down isms. Best of luck in the fire.
But surely then, there are other buildings, like if you're just talking about a single-story house on a plot of land, you shouldn't really have to worry too much about accessibility. I mean, the chances of a disabled person buying it or moving into it are probably pretty low. And yeah, I mean, that just seems like an unnecessary thing to just stall the construction of a house. So yeah, I mean, if they can get out of that, push forward with that, then that would be something I'd support as well.
What do you imagine the disabled groups are going to stand up and protest?
Very good. Okay. All right. So just on the zoning changes, talking about Sydney, of course, which is definitely the biggest offender here.
State of business.
Yeah. So when we talk about rezoning, what we're talking about is, say, designating one area that might be low to mid-rise to another one and making it high-rise, stuff like that.
Are you going to affect the look of the horizon? Yeah.
So basically what happens is you'll find that all the buildings around you suddenly get taller. You can build up and up and up, and you can disrupt people's views or sometimes just outright block someone's view. This is when the fights with the council, of course, gets very nasty. People hate it when, suddenly a huge building goes up right in front of their house and, blocks whatever view they had. Or
goes up impressively quick as well. I've seen it before.
Yeah. I mean, also it just makes everything around you busier, creates delays in traffic and stuff like that. People don't like it. But of course, in Sydney, where the housing crisis is probably the worst in the country, that is where most of this rezoning is happening. And so, well, yeah, they profiled one person in this article in the ABC, and they said that, so this is, what is this, Jersey Street. 1- and 2-story homes will make way for apartments from 9 to 11 stories tall. So, yeah, that's pretty extreme. That is definite rezoning right there. So no one is forced to sell to developers, but, you're definitely incentivized to, because when that happens, I mean, if there's a winner out of any of this, if you actually own a 1- or 2-story house in that area, and now they've rezoned it so that you could build a 11-story building on where your house is, well, your house, your property, suddenly worth an absolute shit ton of money. A few weeks ago, we actually covered the story of where there was like only one house left in this area of apartment blocks.
You're looking at this little little fucking tiny house just sitting there grumpily. I'm not changing.
Yes,
I'm not changing.
well, that was what it was. It was like some grumpy boomer who maybe just died or something, who never let go, right? But
And
in
you've
the end,
never seen a house flatten itself in more time. They probably
well,
were clawing at each other to collapse this house as soon as the
quite recently,
cocked it.
yeah, but recently it was sold to developers, and I remember it sold for $8.18 million for one house. It was one house on one small plot of land, and he got over $8 million for it. That is
There we
just
That's
go.
crazy.
everybody's dream to have happen to them.
But what do they call that stuff in China? Obviously, in China they can't go and then turn around and sell it. So this is why like they get extra cantankerous about not selling it. But like they call it like nail houses or road nail houses, because like you'll just have this giant mega highway, and then you'll have this old style like Chinese farmhouse in the middle of it.
I think I saw something like that with a big old SOS sign on it, and government officials surrounding it while there's giant piles of dirt around them, and it's all got this garden in there. It was really weird looking.
It's fucking nuts.
Yeah, so something else in Sydney is they're planning to resurrect the Woollahra station. So I think basically that just means the government wants to buy it up, and they want to rezone that area of land to accommodate 10,000 new homes, which I assume are apartments, obviously.
Less than 10 days of migration.
Woollahra.
Now,
Sorry, just you got me curious, and I'm looking it up.
another winner out of all of this, the housing crisis generally, that is Australia's home insurance. So, as housing prices rise, premiums for your like home and contents insurance and the like are pretty much moving right in line with it. Now, the industry insists that it is not unfairly profiteering from all of this, but consumer groups are saying that we need a national independent insurance price monitoring program.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, Nolza, you're the homeowner here. I still do not. I live in a humble rental. Do you have like an insurance policy like this, and have the premiums been going up?
Yeah, so for an external, I've got RIC, and then for home and contents, I've got budget, just because they're the only ones who didn't have a absolute retarded premium for it. So I got a home and contents for about $50,000, an external, which is like fastures, walls, structure. Right now, fence, because I'm actually getting a claim on one of the fences that blew over in the storm, which is taking forever. But I'm paying a few grand a year just for those two policies individually. So my home and contents is 2,500, and my external is 1,200, which has gone up
Wow.
about $400 between the two since last year, since I first got the policy, because I've just paid the second installation on the policy.
So I assume you don't believe them when they say that they're not unfairly profiteering.
Oh no, they've insurance providers of all kind, positive price mobility, negative price mobility. They use any kind of volatility in price or asset value as a reason to do something. But really, what they're seeing, what these housing insurance, both internal and external contents, they're not seeing an increase in like accidents, etc. They're seeing an expansion of their client base, which you'd think would be a negative price pressure on rates, but it's not.
Right.
Also, you think that a more expensive house, you should be able to actually get a policy for a higher total coverage. No, they're not allowing me to expand my coverage for this house entirely, even though it jumped from about $8,800 in evaluation, and now it's up to a little shy of $940 in evaluation. And I've been in this place for less than a year. If God, you should have asked Scratch how the inside of this place looked. It's still not even done.
Oh God. Okay. So more examples just showing you how bad things are getting. So the city of Moreton Bay, God, they have spent more than $1.4 million policing its homeless population.
Nice.
So in March, the council outlawed homeless camping. And, that's something that, we've seen these tent cities, as they often are referred to, have been popping up all over Australia. But there's a Supreme Court challenge to that, that they're currently, they'll be fighting that in November. So, yeah, you've seen this with councils across Australia. They're under pressure by ratepayers to basically remove all of these homeless people.
Oh
But
yeah,
then
that's
again,
going to lower the living shit out of your house pricing if you have a lovely park for them to all sleep in.
oh, of course, yeah. But then the question is, well, what do you do with all these people? Like, where are they supposed to go?
Bus them out to the next state.
And then that council
yep.
has the same problem. You just repeat the problem.
Yeah, but it's no longer your problem. You've paid for their bus ticket and all their stuff to be moved there, free of charge, just like they do in the US. This is now an opposing state's problem, and then they pay for you to move back. It's the cycle of homelessness. Fuck.
Okay, now going on to what the ABC is saying about this. The ABC has basically been running this campaign to increase housing density in Australia. You see this all the time. Now, according to them, because there's been this new study that's come out, and they reckon that one of the reasons why housing affordability is broken in this country is because of the mismatch between the size of Australian homes and the number of people living in them. So while the bulk of Australian housing is built for larger families, it's been found that 60% of households are made up of just one or two people. So according to them, that means we've got all of these houses where the people should downsize because there's not enough of them. Now, my first response to that would be, okay, doesn't that actually tell you that we have a negative fertility rate here, and therefore we need policies to increase the fertility rate so that those people where there's only one or two people in the house can actually have children and therefore have a house big enough to raise those children? That's the first obvious point to be making there. But secondly,
God, you'll be infuriated by how 7, 9, and 10 try to frame that. They try to say, "Oh, it's actually just retirees and empty nesters, just older people." They'll try to say frame it as that, and I was like, no. Let's have a look. The numbers you gave can't even meet that demographic.
But also, how many of them would be, say, made up of dinks who are planning to have children? Because a lot of the time, or most of the time, they buy a house together and then they get enough savings and everything on track so that they can have a child or two later on. There's obviously plenty of examples of that. But according to the ABC, everyone should just be living in a flat. If there's just one or two of you, you should just be in a bloody flat. You should be in your sardine can and don't complain.
Do we really need to have a window outside? Wouldn't it be more efficient just to commie block us up?
Don't give them any ideas.
This is why we have people saying that we should live in pods and embrace modular housing.
I mean, if it's cheap, then I can have my suitcase for going for work, my clean pair of clothes. The other pair of clothes is at the cleaner, and get to work, come back, Dunsky. Kind of shuffle my boots next to my head, and I'm good.
Become an entirely economic asset.
The next story that I'm about to read from the ABC, this is where they profiled an architect named Adam Haddow. And this guy used to live in a big house. Now he's on a 69 square meter brick
Nice.
house in what they call a luxurious experiment in living with less. So while occupying a spacious rooftop apartment, Mr. Haddo came to the realization that he and his husband were only living in a third of it. He wondered, could they downsize and make their lives better in the process? Oh my God. So
I mean,
the
really,
multi-level
he only
house
needs a
on a
bottoming
10
room.
by 10-meter block has one bedroom, a study, a kitchen, lounge, and a rooftop garden. Intelligent design creates a sense of space where actual space is lacking. So this is what you should do. You should just become a faggot and have no kids and then just live in this tiny little space.
Oh, like they have in bars. Have a giant fuck off mirror on half of your apartment so it looks larger. Yeah. Trick your mind's eye to thinking you do have plenty of space. I do like that they use the highest class humanly possible to sell this though. Love the ABC for that.
Yeah, there we go. Found a gay architect.
The architecture.
Now, the last story on housing. Again, this is another profiling story. So this was this woman, single mum. She saw an offer on Facebook, which was for homeless or at-risk women, buying houses for $55,000 each. But there's one catch. You have to be involved in the building process. Now, this woman at first thought it was a scam, but no, apparently not. Apparently, this is real. You have to, of course, qualify as, some destitute woman. But I think it's actually, they just give you a shipping container, basically, from the pictures that I saw.
Live in
And we
this
know
until
that
you can
this
build
is
the
something
rest.
that people do. Or sometimes people put like two shipping containers together and they make a house out of that.
So how's this any
That's actually
different from
what I
that
did
homeless
around
camp they were talking about and out in the boonies that they were demolishing in Queensland? Because, yeah, have a at-risk person's homeless camp.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I remember Elon Musk was trying, like, basically got caught trying to sell, like, oh yeah, I just live out of my tiny home, or I live out of the office, and then like literally, like, some of his kids came. Some are more estranged.
The ones that hate him.
A lot. Yeah, the ones that hate him is like, dude, like we
Look
grew
at
up
this
in like,
mansion.
it's like literally like I was living with him last year, and he was living in this massive LA mansion. He's like, he just has parties there, like like. He lives in like he says he lives in like a thing when he's on site for like a week. Like that's his FIFO equivalent of a trailer park, is like a 3 C crate, like done up super luxurious like mega internet connection thing. That's his on site thing that he lives in for a week, and then he comes back to his mansion.
I wonder if he gets paid a stipend by the government to be hated by by one political class.
Possibly.
You couldn't put a price on that bloke.
Oh man.
Okay, just one quick story on industrial relations before we get on to the whole Israel-Gaza situation. We covered how the Victorian government is legislating to protect the legal right to work from home. Well, the Greens want that to go national now. It has been a policy met with popular support in Victoria. We also basically found out via the Dutton opposition's blunder that work from home is popular in this country. People want it to be an option. So the Greens are now saying, well, the government should capitalise on that and legislate it in national law. I don't know.
Well,
It's
he'll
definitely...
give us more rights than than most things written down giving us rights to. Look, I can't help but agree with work from home. There's 2 examples of getting a certificate. One was they take us aside at work and we sit there for a couple of hours learning how to work the the fidget spinner. And the other one is basically they send us a package to our house in order to work the fidget spinner, and we can do it from home. And I can't, because even the person teaching us is working from home. It's very, very convenient. It'd be better if I learned how to do the fidget spinner personally, but we're just looking at mostly graphs anyway and reading stuff. Very small actual practicality to be done.
I was going to say, like, if you're going to do the work from home thing with your employer, there needs to be understanding of, you know, what your production level needs to be like, what needs to be done, etc. Because otherwise they turn around, they complain about drops in productivity. And the thing is, even in astronomical rises in productivity, the introduction of the computer as a workstation, introduction of machinery, dear Lord, the entire way through the Industrial
introduction of the clock.
Yes, the introduction of the clock.
And if you didn't know, the banning of personal ownership of clocks at work. Can you guess why?
Yes, that too.
But yeah, one clock running. What do you reckon happens to that one clock?
Yeah, like employers have always complained about, like, a drop in productivity. I've got a drop in productivity. I need to, get more this, get more that, get more labor for my buck. And that's where it comes down to. I want there to be a proper trial done where there is prefixed goals of what needs to be done, what goals need to be done during that period of time, because I want to see an actual properly notarized thing for productivity in this case, not just the wailings of an employer who didn't get exactly as many cents on the dollar out of his employee as he felt like he deserved that quarter. Because that's where I feel a lot of this stuff has come from. And I was going to say field because every time they use a metric, I mean, it's economics, and statistics.
There is also potentially into the future stuff like this happening again that revolutionize it, work from home, and it be normalized that positive things for people are kept. And that is that's an existential crisis, that positive things are kept for employees. They don't want to encourage such behavior.
Again, the easiest way to grow 3% year on year, which is what you want as a business, is to just squeeze your employees harder, because boiling frog technique. They don't really know that you're extracting 3% more out of them every year by lowering their standards.
No,
count in
look, I
increments.
pretty much agree with what you guys are saying. I would just say that working from home 5 days a week is something I wouldn't recommend, though, just because of the isolation.
Oh yeah, my parents met at work. If they were working at home, the potential for me existing goes away.
And now we're all suffering.
Suffer me now.
Okay, so let's go to the bigger news, I guess, and that is that Australia has expelled Iranian diplomats. My understanding is that
we had diplomats from Iran.
Yes, we did.
Did they have an embassy, or would have it just constantly be getting bombed and aircraft striking it all the time?
They had an office, not so much an embassy.
How many times did it get attacked?
They used to do literally the JDL used to tag it all the time. But yeah, Syrian Girl actually had a decent take on this today.
I haven't seen that.
Sorry to interrupted you there. Just surprised me with that.
So look, I'll give you the details of that. They had 7 days to leave the country. My understanding is that they're actually already gone. And the reason why this happened is because that ASIO has announced that 2 of the anti-Semitic incidents in Australia, both of which happened in 2024, they reckon that the Iranian government, or more specifically the Iranian National Guard, have been responsible, or at least played a part in it. So the 2 incidents are the fire that was started at the Lewis Continental Kitchen, which is a kosher cafe. And there was $1 million worth of damage said to have been caused there. And the other, of course, was the Adas synagogue bombing, which I can't remember the exact property damage, the bill on that, what that was. But I know that they got a government bailout. They also had insurance pay them out, and they had
Yes.
donations from the
A
public raised
donation
through,
drive.
through.
But I can't help but notice one of the bigger ones that has been said to be international bloody stuff in influencing at the caravan. What about that one? That didn't come out as being
Well,
one of the reasons.
No,
Okay.
Mike Burgess actually said like, oh, it's not all attacks. Like for now, we just believe it to be these two. But one of the things that Mike Burgess made a point of saying, which is what was Syrian, like I'm ripping off of Syrian Girls Take here, is that hey, look, this is all coming from the office of Mike Burgess. None of this is coming from like any other stuff. He's saying that his office identified like a hand, and he said it in the most weirdest way because she included a clip of Mike Burgess saying it all. And it was the most weirdest thing. It's like, well, we understood from intelligence given to us by like a foreign ally that this person was in relation to this person and this person. And we don't believe that the Iranian ambassador or necessarily the Iranian government is directly involved with this, but is definitely in relation to these two people. It's the most convoluted way of saying like, okay, there's this hyper convoluted pathway between the Iranian government and these attacks in Australia. And let's check notes. You got it from a foreign intelligence agency. Okay, so do you know what? Do you know who Mike Burgess goes to bed with every single night, and also goes to her community?
What?
His wife. Do you know what his wife is?
Iranian.
A dual citizen of Israel.
Mike Burgess is married
Yes.
to a Jewish woman.
Yes.
I did not know that.
She doesn't claim to be Jewish, but she is. She's dual citizenship with Israel, which, I mean, she's not a special laborer.
Can't anybody who goes and fights for them come as you?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
But yeah,
I
didn't know that either. I had to go and fact check her. She's right.
Well, now I'd believe that. Look, I was going to say that, yeah, it is curious that when it came to the caravan explosive hoax, remember that was the Australian Federal Police. They said the results of their investigation showed that that was a hoax. And not only that, but many of the other smaller incidents like graffiti and vandalism, that they were hoaxes too. And there was an international actor involved in paying cryptocurrency to petty criminals to carry out those attacks.
A hoax that
yeah,
still gets your
interesting now.
agenda forward, huh? Ah, funny.
Because Shari Markson on Sky News, that wretched Jess, she was saying that like this now basically explodes the myth that the anti-Semitic crisis in Australia was fabricated or was manufactured. Because, okay, fine, the AFP may have said that it's fake, but ASIO is now saying it's not. Because, by the way, ASIO also said that they believe Iran is involved in many of the other incidents, but they won't say what they are right now. So, according to Shari Markson, that basically means that, like, by and large, all of these attacks have been real, have been legitimate. Because ASIO, whose boss is married to a Jew, it turns out, says so.
Yep.
Well, who's going to disagree? Who's going to do a big old investigation into all that? Nobody.
But that it's fine because she's an Australian citizen. She doesn't hold any office, but she basically, her family was some property investors over here, and then her father was a lawyer, and then obviously she met Mike Burgess. Not a first marriage, Mike Burgess, obviously, but just met Mike Burgess, picked him up, and suddenly Mike Burgess went from this like weird analyst for like small security companies, which would advise the police groups like state security and etc. And then suddenly he just gets rocketed to head of ASIO when our previous head slipped out a bit ago.
Wow, he must have been very talented indeed.
Just talented. Went from a small end state level analyst to the head of ASIO.
An analyst to an ASIOist.
Now, granted, like I honestly, one of the most believable parts of this is that he's if you read Mike Burgess or listen to what Mike Burgess is saying during that press conference, he's going backwards and forwards on did they do it, did they not do it, did they do it? And he's like, well, not directly, but we understand he was in relation to two international figures which gave the funding and etc. And they got this intelligence, and he just calls it intelligence. He doesn't say like, oh, we got this from this thing. No, we got it from a foreign intelligence agency ally.
Right. Okay. Now, that's where I wanted to jump in, because Israel is actually taking responsibility, taking credit for the expulsion of the Iranian diplomats. Now, Tony Burke, who's our Home Affairs Minister, he said that is complete nonsense. He said that Israel had nothing to do with it. But, as you point out there, Mike Burgess has, in his press conference, he hinted that foreign intelligence authorities helped Australia come to the conclusion that Iran was involved in these incidents. And then for Israel to turn around and claim credit for it all seems a bit coincidental to me.
Yeah, why even lie at that point? Why not just say, yep, Israel told us that these people didn't. What
I don't know.
choice do I have to believe them?
I think Mike Burgess got a bit of a paddling earlier because, there's also those senior constables for the AFP got a paddling earlier when they did let slip that it was funding from a international organization that was behind these attacks. And I think that plus the recent showings of is it the Grand Imam? What's the head of Iran again?
Khomeini.
The Ayatollah. There we go. I keep forgetting that. The photos being held around at pro-Palestinian protests, and also the large amount of Iran groups, because people don't know this. There was a large Iranian community over here. In fact, I even knew some people that I dealt with that were members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard that have their families over here because they actually believe it is safer to be in Australia because in Iran, there's been attacks, there's been machine guns,
in Iran, they can openly kill you. Here,
yes,
they have
in Iran,
to go through all sorts of loops.
They have to hit you with the ricin gun. So they
the old heart attack weapon.
There's a lot of Iranian government members over here, and I think that realization that Iranian community they thought was just a whole bunch of heavily westernized Iranians that they brought over in the early 80s, late 80s. That they weren't necessarily completely on board with this frame of geopolitics. I think that genuinely scared the piss out of them. And I think this is the first step in being well, actually, no. We're the total victim here. And we weren't behind these attacks. But I still think our first theory stands, Finian.
Well, look, something I also forgot to mention in terms of the Australian government's response is that as well as expelling the diplomats, we've declared that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is a terrorist organization. Now that is something that the Jewish lobby has been lobbying for years in this country.
And all it took was a couple of,
effectively
Iranian backed by ASIO.
Well, that's the Iranian military. So we basically said that the military of Iran is a terrorist organization. That's what we've done.
Now, that's a nice little wrapped up package.
Well, it seems to me like if you bring these ethnicities that hate each other and are at war with each other, and forever going to be at war with each other over here, they're going to continue that battle over here. So,
yes. What a surprise that Australian magic dirt doesn't suddenly bring peace and harmony between these two ethnic groups.
And now we're involved.
So, in terms of Iran's response, they're saying, as you can imagine, they are denying any responsibility in these incidents. But they're also saying that the expulsion of the diplomats and declaring the Revolutionary Guard as terrorists is influenced by domestic developments. Now, they did mention the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu wrote an open letter to Anthony Albanese condemning the recognition of a Palestinian state and also for failing to adequately deal with the rise in anti-Semitism in Australia. He called him a weak leader and said that his reputation as Prime Minister will be forever tarnished by
Ooh,
his
is that a
weakness
threat?
on Israel.
He's going to use
sort of.
everything within his arsenal of besmirchments to fuck over Albo's bloody name.
Yeah, it's
The
not
thing
like
is,
this is the first time that the government of Israel, leader or not leader, has threatened the PM of Australia directly.
yeah. Look, I mean, all of that is not true. I mean, the idea that Albanese is going to tarnish his posterity by being anti-Israel is ridiculous. If anything, it would be the opposite. We are seeing a sort of historic shift in terms of the West's relationship with Israel, and you're seeing it on both sides of politics. Maybe not so much in Australia, but certainly in America. The rise of the America First, or even the woke right, as a lot of people refer to it as. It is a changing perspective that's going on in the West, and Albanese will be actually remembered as a leader who pushed Australia in a more pro-Palestinian direction, and I think that would work out in favour of a good reputation as Prime Minister. But yeah,
Just
given
before
the
we go
fact
forward,
also that
I have
Israel is claiming credit for this, I mean, you can't help but think: is this also just a way of saying to the Australian Jews or the Jewish lobby, like, "Oh, look, we'll give you a little bit of what you want. We'll declare Iran this terrorist regime, but we're still going to recognize Palestine at the next UN General Assembly meeting."
all right. That's what my question was. Have we actually recognized them yet? We're receiving all this backlash and punishment and all that for recognizing them, but we haven't even done it. And don't we have stipulations when it comes to it? Like, they got to dismiss their Hamas government.
Yeah, we do have like stipulations, etc. Because like we have following geopolitical allies, we've considered Hamas still technically terrorists, but there's like another government that that could be made up because there was the Palestinian Authority. That was like a Western approved one, but Finney and I went on the last show. Is like basically if you actually took that to a free and fair election, the local people in the past and will likely continue to vote in Hamas.
Or if you did take them to a free and fair election, the election booths would be bombed.
Well, in Gaza, when they had elections, they elected Hamas. And in the West Bank, they haven't had an election in 20 years because they know Hamas would win it.
Ah, very clever, very clever. I like that. I like that.
So this is the problem, because Australia is actually saying, okay, look, we'd only recognise it if the Palestinian Authority was in charge, but at the same time, we also want elections. But you can't have both, because an election would mean Fatah, which is the Palestinian Authority right now, would lose. So it's a very contradictory position to hold.
It means we don't have to do anything. We can say, oh, well, see, we can't be pro-terrorist team. we gotta hold to our principles. So yeah, they're giving nothing. So on one side, they're giving them all these laws and protections. On the other side, they're spitting in their face.
So the foreign minister of Iran said this: "It appears that this action against Iran, effectively an assault on diplomacy and the relationship between the two nations, is being used to offset the modest criticism Australia has recently directed at the Zionist regime." Yeah.
Yep.
I'm glad that he referred to it as modest criticism of Israel, because that's what it is. Remember, like, they're still refusing to use language like genocide or collective punishment.
Lukewarm criticism.
Just started to say things like, "Oh, maybe Israel is breaking international law." That's about as far as they'll go. But the stronger language they won't use.
They've got wonderful spin doctors. It's a whole nation who know how to use rhetoric, and they're using it in the most effective manner to hurt our government for what it's doing. You send our diplomats back. We're going to send this very angry letter. That's not going to make us look silly, but make you look silly.
Right. Okay, so, well, actually, here's an example of some of that stronger language. So, the
Mhm.
Home Affairs Minister, Tony Burke, he said that strength is not measured by how many people you can blow up or how many children you can leave hungry.
Ooh, it might be.
So, that was one of the statements that BB was responding to. But also, just recently, I saw that the former Premier of New South Wales, Bob Carr, Labor Premier, of course, he just did an interview for like some Australian Islamic network on YouTube.
Mm.
I forget what it's called, but like the interview was
Al
done with some.
Jazeera on SBS.
No, it wasn't that. It was it's like an Australian one,
Yeah.
like Sydney Leb types running it. But Bob Carr was on there, and he did actually use language like genocide, and that they're using starvation as a weapon of war, etc. And Sky News has been going crazy about that, and they've been saying that Bob Carr has been pushing the Jewish stereotype of having disproportionate control and influence on government.
I thought they were doing it.
Well, look, Shari Markson said that like what Bob Carr refers to as the Jewish lobby in Australia is simply an interest group for Australian Jews, and it has nothing to do with Israel or the interests of Israel or the interests of Jews around the world. It's only Australian Jews.
Even though they all
How-
have the right to return if not all had
Right.
Israeli passports.
Again, we only have stats for America, but I can't imagine there'll be much variance. But it's something like a 95% support rate, and then like minutes of meetings, because I went to a whole bunch of American organizations where they did like look at the minutes of meetings, and it's literally about, oh, how do we secure aid for this place? How do we make sure this guy who's bad mouthing us isn't X, Y, and Z? How do we and then the rest of it is, oh, how would you secure like home loan security funds to build an extension on my house?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, that the Jewish lobby, no matter what country you find them in, is always lobbying on Israel. And, you get leaders like Ted Cruz splitting hairs over it, saying, no, they're lobbying for a strong alliance between the two countries. They'll say shit like that.
Christ almighty.
All right. Now, that said, interestingly, the Executive Council of Australian Jewry, which is probably our peak Jewish body in Australia, has actually chastised Benjamin Netanyahu over that open letter because they said that the kind of language that it used is, inflammatory rhetoric. They say it's kind of going too far. And we do have like a nasty war of words being on public display between the two leaders. Yeah, I found that interesting because usually it is only the more moderate Jewish lobby groups do have in Australia. They tend to be the ones to say to the Israeli hawks like, hey, you need to tone this down a bit, and you need to stop looking like fire-breathing genocidal murderers.
So yeah.
Not a good look.
It pretty much boils
Not
down
so
to
apparent,
like,
sir. Not so apparently.
yeah, we might see the breaking down of this dichotomy that they talk about on TDS a lot, but of like the ardent warhawk versus like the book reading liberal in the American case, when it comes to like obviously the Jewish community and stances towards Israel and stances toward Gaza from the Israeli and Jewish community. I think this is basically the breakdown of that, because it's getting to a point where it's like, hey, look, one saying like, hey, look, can you stop being a fucking warhawk and so firebranded and so religious and so genocidal in your rhetoric? The other side is saying, hey, can you please just fucking ignore the goy, don't fire back, and keep continuing on?
Yeah, and I mean, that is what Jewish disagreement is actually about. It's a disagreement on tactics, on how to best promote the interests of Jews.
Oh yeah, that's the number one goal from both sides of the argument. There is no other.
It's a different. The differences that they have, the disagreements that they have, is on strategy. How do they actually get the result they want? But
And
there's
that's
no
not a
disagreement
place for
on the
Gentiles. It's a place for hold their hands together in protection, and they happily bind together to protect each other, and then argue between each other. It's not a place for you.
You'll know you're right when you try to interlope on one side or the other, and the reaction you get.
The exact same.
Yep.
Okay, so on the West Bank, the Israeli parliament has just approved the construction of 3,400 homes in East Jerusalem. Now, remember, that is supposed to be Palestinian territory.
Oh, Greg, can we move some of our Indian migrants there?
Well, look, it's funny. Like, the Israelis have a housing crisis. I don't think they do. Like, their housing crisis is like just imposing themselves on other people.
How do I steal more of them?
I can't steal from my family. How can I steal from these people down the road? What do you mean I can just mosey on into their flat, sit there, and they can't do a thing until they leave? I don't mind if I do. If I didn't sit in this flat until you left, someone else would.
Look, the Australian government response has been negative, as you can imagine. Our Foreign Minister, Penny Wong, is saying that such action is making the two-state solution impossible. But you see, Penny, that's actually the whole point. So the Israeli finance minister who announced this said that this was a significant step that practically erases the two-state delusion and consolidates the Jewish people's hold on the heart of the land of Israel. So, yeah, they're not even making a secret of it now. They're trying to make it so that, like, geographically and logistically, a Palestinian state just becomes so cumbersome. Like, how could you possibly actually unite these areas? Because I remember, obviously, the Gaza Strip is separate. The Gaza Strip and the West Bank are two separate, completely separate blocks of land. But then also within the West Bank, if you see a map of it in terms of the Israeli settlements, it looks like Swiss cheese. And they've done that very intentionally. And they keep constructing these homes as well, which, basically means that the practicality of the Palestinian state is just reduced more and more the more of these houses you build. And it's not a surprise that Israel is accelerating that process now. Okay.
Well,
finally.
See.
Go on.
There's saying in response, Australia and its counterparts called in the strongest terms for the immediate reversal of the approved plans. Not like in conditions, not consequences, and all that. Nothing but words. Nothing.
No, and we
no pushback whatsoever.
Material support to the IDF. We may not actually supply them with weapons, quote unquote, but we supply them with materials.
Yeah, we also supply them with. I think it's popular in America to send their police force over there for training. Do we also supply them our police force?
I'm not sure. But, I do think we're like seeing the dismantlement of the Israeli state before our eyes. Even if for the time being they're expanding, they are rapidly losing the support that they need in the West. Because remember, Israel's support is completely dependent on the West propping them up. They cannot exist by themselves.
Well, God willing, Israel fall apart without it then. One day.
Okay,
I think we should follow in Jordan's footsteps and unrecognize Israel.
Yep.
All right, so the final story was just on the protests that happened over the weekend. Sorry, I I didn't manage to get like the final numbers on this, but I know they said in Brisbane it is probably the
It was a lot.
biggest rally they ever
It
had.
was a lot.
They weren't allowed to do the march in where they originally planned to do it. I'm sorry.
Oh, why not?
The court said they couldn't do it. They said it was too dangerous. However, they were allowed to do the march elsewhere, and they still got a record amount of people who turned up. So, from that point of view, it's still a success. And there were a lot of other protests throughout the country, and they said that in terms of the whole of Australia, this may have actually been the biggest collection of people protesting ever. So, I say that therefore it is our duty on the 31st of August to beat those numbers. If we can rally for a foreign entity, a strip of land that is not even a state on the other side of the world, for a population much, much smaller than our own, then surely we can turn up in support of our own country. En masse.
We shall see. We shall see.
We shall see. But if you can get out on Sunday, do it. If you've got family plans, bring the family. Make them work their plans around you instead of the other way around.
It's a Sunday. It's available.
It's a Sunday. I know in Perth anyway, it's clear sky. It's like only 21 degrees and clear. So
some beautiful weather so far.
It's 1 hour on a Sunday. Surely people can make the time to turn up. Okay. Now on to immigration. So thanks to Kuiper who showed me this story, because this is in macro business that I do not read. I really just read a handful of publications. But anyway, this was about a journalist from macro business who often writes about immigration numbers, mainly net migration, and the fact that even though we're supposed to be cutting net migration in this country, because yes, believe it or not, Labor did make that promise, just about every month seems to be a new record for the net amount of arrivals that we have here. Now, this journalist, whose name is Leith Van Onselen, he actually received an email from the ABS saying that he may have misled the public by quoting the ABS's monthly net permanent and long-term arrivals.
Oh, yes. I found this one today. He's like, well, you have to look at it this way. It's like, would this make the number better or worse? Can you answer that question?
Yeah. So this email said that it is inaccurate and misleading to use the monthly net permanent and long-term arrivals data as a measure of migration. Now, maybe I should just read out what it says here. Okay, so it says, overseas arrivals and departure data, including permanent and long-term movements, should not be used as a measure of overseas migrations. For instance, OAD permanent and long-term arrivals may be increasing while actual overseas migrant arrivals are decreasing for the same period. Permanent and long-term movements are derived from traveller declarations and are not contingent on the traveller's residency status prior to travel. For example, a person living in Australia for 3 years on a temporary visa can count as a long-term visitor arrival many times, even though they only migrated here once. Okay, so look, I don't think I need to read any more than that.
Yeah. Okay.
But so what they're basically saying is, okay, like some person who has like re-entered Australia a number of times can be counted, and therefore like slightly inflate the numbers. Now, Van Onselen admits, like, yes, that is true. However, this has really been the only way to report monthly migration patterns is by looking at this measure that comes from the ABS, the Australian Bureau of Statistics. What's also interesting is that when this journalist received that email, he contacted other journalists that he knows from other publications. For example, Radio 2GB, the Institute of Public Affairs, and a few others. And funnily enough, they had received the exact same email from them. So they had... They've basically they're involved in this information war where their own data tells us that, we just always have record amounts of people turning up here every month. And they're trying to get the media to tell you all that it's misleading, that it's... You can't be using our figures. You can't be using the figures that we put out ourselves because apparently they're misleading.
Okay, so it's like, okay, so look at this individually migrates in and out of Australia, or is might necessarily be at the time of reporting outside the country, but is listed as a long-term arrival because of a travel declaration that he's made to Australia, even though in all fairness, he's only migrating once, he hasn't migrated twice, or hasn't stayed here on a temporary visa. The problem is, okay, that's an individual. What's the overall delta? Because it sounds like he's advocating for taking away. He's like, it's inaccurate because you should take away this person who migrates backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. It's like, well, quantitatively, that's a quantitative case, and you're talking about an objective number of people in the country right now, or people who at least intend to be in the country relatively soon. So it sounds like stat claptrap to be like, please use this as deduction, even though this would be either neutral or positive to this base number of actual long-term residents or actual migratory people in this country, or the actual objective number of people coming to this country at any given point in time. It's either neutral or positive. Please use this as deduction because you might have a case of someone who island hops.
There's the point, is it? Isn't it supposed to be the more the merrier? It's supposed to be a high-class, beautiful thing that there's more people moving on over to here. That we're growing, both in creating all our shit, getting our shit done, improving that. So why should you be against the number always be rising? Isn't that what our economy is supposed to always be doing, rising? So
it sounds like the bureaucratic. It sounds like the bureaucratic class are turning around and being like, well, okay, that is the case. We may even consider this a good thing, but you, the media, the people who are in contact with the plebs, can you not keep saying this?
Yeah, well, look, he was part of the response that Van Onselen sent to the ABS. While net permanent and long-term arrivals and net overseas migration differ slightly, they remain closely related measures. They have been an accurate statistical guide which has uncovered Australia's unplanned migration crisis. It would be highly inappropriate for sections of the ABS to be running cover to the federal government to try and divert attention away from Australia's out-of-control migration system. And this is also part of the effort to basically say that the housing crisis in Australia is not caused by migration.
They keep insisting that. I wonder why.
They keep saying that, and one of the best copes I heard from this was that during COVID, where we had closed borders, housing prices still went up. Yeah. They did, but very, very slightly. Have you seen how much they went up as soon as we reopened the border? They just skyrocketed.
Not very, very slightly.
Yeah. And by the way, also, during COVID, we also didn't have people leaving either. So the population just basically
last thing you want to bloody do is go anywhere near an airport.
Yeah, and we were not building. Everything was bloody shut down during that period, so we weren't building houses either. So things basically remained stagnant.
Wait, we weren't building houses, and it only went up very, very slightly. The fuck?
Right.
I'll say this, like, didn't we also have that like small little scandal, basically like towards the end of COVID, because that's when like people actually started checking on these numbers. There was apparently a whole bunch. It was literally, I think it was nearly close to like 500,000 people who were meant to have self-deported during that period of time, or given like a court order to self-deport, that just didn't.
How are you going to move that many people? Fuck. You're going to arrest them all? Like they did the Iranian bloody embassy? Fuck.
You also had like a rush of Indians who came in particular to Melbourne. You know, that's their favorite city. So like not long before the the borders closed, there was like a shit ton of arrivals from India to Melbourne. And they were probably the ones foremost responsible for spreading the virus itself in Australia, because India was such a hotspot of COVID.
We had to have those borders open for the very fucking
God, I just love how much psychological that era of history is going to go down as one of the most psychologically damaging of all. I swear to God.
Yeah, you can see it physically in media with people wearing masks at the time. It's great.
Speaking, from my own experience, like, man, I wish COVID just never happened. I really do. Like, it was 2 years of just fucking bullshit. And
the worst part about the COVID was the hypocrisy.
in what way?
The hypocrisy was the worst part about COVID.
Is making a Norm Macdonald joke. I don't think Finian's going to understand that you're making a Norm Macdonald joke.
I still... Norm Macdonald, I understand, okay? I don't understand Sam Hyde, but I like a lot of Norm Macdonald stuff. Wait, are you talking about the amount of disrespect? Is that scene?
No.
Disrespect that hurts the most?
It was Norm Macdonald sitting in the back with of like a cab with Jerry Seinfeld, and he was talking about like it's like I think it was Bill Cosby, and he says like he's like, you know what the worst part of it was? And then, Jerry Seinfeld's like, what? What's the worst part of it? I think Jerry Seinfeld's feeling a little bit guilty himself as well with that accusation. He says, the hypocrisy. And Jerry Seinfeld's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh, no.
I thought it might have been, if you guys have seen Dirty Work, that was a movie like written by Norm Macdonald.
Ooh,
but there's like a
gonna put it
scene
on
where
the
they
list
go to
then.
jail, and they're talking about how when you go to jail, you kind of necessarily get ass raped, and then Norm Macdonald like walks off, and it basically that it just happened to him, and when he comes back, he goes like, it hurts the most, the disrespect. He goes, well,
not your ass.
and he goes, actually, maybe the other thing hurts the most. But the disrespect, that hurts the second most.
Fucking Christ.
Oh, my fucking sides.
They took an angel of comedy from us. They took an angel of comedy from us.
That was telling jokes to God.
Okay. Right. Here's the story on One Nation. Now, so at least 3 One Nation billboards in Victoria have gone up that blame the nation's housing crisis on migration.
Ooh, that's a big no-no.
The only Victorian MP for One Nation has said that those billboards are funded by the federal branch, and she did not know that they would be installed until they went up. 2 of those billboards.
You'd think she'd want to know about it before they went up. And she's the biggest proponent for taking them down.
2 of the billboards have been removed, and the third one will be removed shortly, according to the ABC. So it's probably already gone.
Are they just putting it up with One Nation just to make it unpopular? As a talking point? Because masterful spin
also when it comes to fucking Pauline, the fucking ginger bitch. When it comes to fucking stuff, I don't even think it's worthwhile going to any of their events anymore.
No, it's not. Yeah, because I
used to they're done.
Maybe for the fighting. Maybe it's worthwhile showing up for the fighting.
That's why I was saying, like, I don't understand why the lefties still turn up to protest it. There's no point. Like, One Nation does not oppose mass migration. They're even now taking down their own billboards. For God's sake. Okay.
They're eating themselves.
The next story. You see these type of stories coming up every now and then on the ABC, and that is where they talk about how hard it is for migrants to actually set themselves up in Australia and the process and the costs and everything that they have to go through. So in this particular story, they're talking about the English language requirement. So they're saying that, oh no, it costs up to $400 to take an English language test and have that verified. Now, you hear this a lot, like, they'll complain about the application costs for a student visa or, many other ways that people exploit the migration industry in Australia. They don't seem to realize, like, that's part of the point. Migration in this country is a Ponzi scheme, and that means that there are many, many players involved who want to make a profit out of it. And people who do these bullshit English tests that are extraordinarily easy are one of those groups. They want in on it. Migration agents, immigration lawyers, human rights lawyers, people who run fake colleges and technical institutes. All of these people are getting in on the population Ponzi because there's money to be made from it. So when the ABC does these sob stories, they don't seem to realize that this is all part of the plan. Like, yes, migrants have to pay a lot of money, and often they get screwed over with this process. And a lot of the time, the process seems to be superfluous and just a waste of money. But that's part of the point. If you let the migration industry grow and grow and grow, well, people are going to get in and they're going to turn it into schemes and scams, and they're going to rip people off. Wouldn't it be better if we just didn't have this industry at all? If you just let white people in and you could really relax the standards in terms of how they migrate and the process under which they migrate, and you wouldn't have to put up with all this bullshit. And basically, there would be no need for migration agents or English language tests that you have to take to get in here.
Well, imagine the amount of money they're extracting from coming here vastly outweighs the money that's inserted into our system in order to extract that money and send it back to wherever the fuck they came from. So
yeah,
it's basically they got interests from where they're coming from to just keep paying that up. And but just like we were talking about Rio Tinto and this being an important thing, the migration industry is probably too big to fail at this point. I mean, we're not producers, we're not ironworks, we don't actually turn our bloody rocks into usable materials, send them over for that. Best we got is bureaucrat gang and housing.
Well, I mean, I don't know the total figures, but I know that the foreign student industry is worth around $40 billion a year. And that's just one class of visa, just one. So, that gives you an idea of how big the rest of it is.
Well, they do carry a lot of low-tier bloody work on their back, having the backpackers come through and be treated as slave labor. I've seen that for most of my career.
Right. Okay. Final story on migration is that, well, you could maybe say there's a bit of good news, but the government is seeking to pass laws that would make it easier for them to deport non-citizens to third world countries. Now, specifically, what the government wants to do here is to deport 3 men to Nauru. We've covered these men before. They're currently engaged in lawfare so that they don't get deported to Nauru. And one of them is saying that because he's bisexual, he would be persecuted because Nauru is a homophobic country. Apparently.
Popular choice to put that form of blood above your doorstep.
Yes. The coconut crabs love eating gays over there.
Keep away from your mic, Knowlesy. You're really loud.
That that might well be true. I mean, the only place where gays are tolerated is the decadent West. Basically, everywhere else in the world, people don't
Until
like
it gets
gays.
changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, in Canada, there was the Pride March because they do Pride kind of at this time of the year because
It's a sacred festival, sacred march through the streets. Big
I was
money
just
in that.
showing Fluoride this, and they're doing a Pride March, and their Pride March got stopped by a pro-Palestinian rally, and there was a whole bunch of like Middle Eastern women and West Asian women basically cussing them out.
But even on
gay.
the Palestinian banners, they had the tranny flag, gay flag.
Yes, they did. They did. Those ones at the back though, they were kind of in the middle. I think they brought those ones forwards to be like, "Hey guys, look, we're on the same team." But yeah, they just weren't having it. They blocked them.
So you can't this. You can't use the normal sayings against it. This look, an immovable object versus an unstoppable force. But one side has a ton of money boosting it. The gay bloody agenda lobbying, and it's sell-offs. You got that bloody PlayStation gay float and all that. Imagine Xbox does as well. How could they not?
Yep.
Only thing you don't see is the Nintendo. For now.
Oh, trust me, this gay Nintendo.
No, I mean the floats. If you see them.
Oh yeah.
All right. Speaking of gays, let's talk about childcare. So, we've got a review that was just done in Victoria, and it found that Victoria's childcare watchdogs are failing to keep kids safe due to poor information sharing, legal constraint, chronic underfunding, and a system that places the privacy of educators and the pursuit of profits over child safety. Yeah, that's true. It's also because they keep hiring homosexuals. Melbourne, of course, was where you had that guy. I forget his name, but he had over 70 charges relating to abuse of children.
And even one of them in a good society would be the end of him.
So, Jacinta Allen, the Premier, has apologised to the families of those who are harmed and has said that the system is not working as intended, but they're supposed to be dealing with that. So let's go through some of the reforms proposed, or actually some of these are being implemented now. So one of them is installing CCTV. So it may be compulsory for a number of childcare services for them to install closed-circuit TV. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't be so opposed to that if, that when people think they're being watched, they're definitely a little more choosy with what they do, the kind of behavior that they'll engage in.
I'm surprised that's not already a constant.
Yeah, that's
a requirement. There's a lot of stuff about the childcare industry. Is like what, like CCTV and like I guess like maybe common areas of the place isn't.
So you're saying in the place you leave your daycare before the kids are even at school, kindergarten, before they're even at that, there's not CCTV in the places. That's not just security wise, but not even mandatory. Fuck, they did.
No,
Jesus.
But they're thinking about that.
They're thinking about it.
Maybe. Again, we covered last time that like you can fail your working with children requirements or qualification or police background check. Basically, that's what it is in other states, and then still apply and get them.
Oh, so a good old 5 to 6 chances, and then you can go to New Zealand.
Yeah, basically. I thought that was already a constant thing. No, they've only just started looking at that now.
I am very upset.
Yeah. There was also a case of someone who got sacked from a childcare centre and kept there working with children's check, and then just like got a job somewhere else in the same state. So that
Fucking
happened as well.
horrific.
No, I mean, the working with children's check should be treated as more like a qualification, because right now it's nothing but a police clearance. You know, there should be a little bit more.
I remember I was helping with a little bit of a charity, and one day we basically got in this charity, people turning up. There is also young people to fucking chop food and move boxes of tin goods around. So you need the child check. It sounded fair enough.
Okay.
But yeah, it's
other
just a police
proposal
check. Yeah.
Mobile phone ban. Now, this is because a lot of the bad behavior that they have uncovered is actually the making of child exploitation material. In other words, these people film their crimes on their mobile phones in the centres. I'm pretty sure that's what the guy in Melbourne was accused
That's how they
of.
found. Yeah, that's how they found him, because they found basically him making footage on another pedophile.
Hold on a minute. So they're the way of actually tracking these people down is going to be the thing that's banned. Yeah, that's one way to reduce the amount of cases reported.
Yeah, because they raided that guy's house, and he lived with another fag, and that they found like a shitload of child porn on that guy's electronic devices too. Like they had like a scheme going where the two of them, you know, like made a game plan and went out and collected this material, made the material themselves. Fucking sick.
Big business. Well, as I look at this, just saying, well, I'm banning phones now. Well, that just seems to be, they're being found out. They're not using their proper security to make sure their business is going perfectly well. The fucking public has found out about it. Ban phones. Hopefully that makes them much more clammed up and able to do their business properly without being found out. That's what I hear when I see this.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to disability. And something else that came out of the productivity roundtable was linking funding for hospitals that the federal government provides the states with, linking that to how much the states embrace a new disability scheme. Now, this is known as Thriving Kids. And to sum it up quite simply, this is about getting kids with autism off of the NDIS and onto a state program instead. So this has been talked about for a long time, where you've got around 1/3 of people who are on the NDIS are there because they have some form of autism.
Yeah.
And with growing awareness, etc., of autism, more and more people keep getting diagnosed with autism, and they keep getting put on the NDIS. Chalmers made the point that the original vision for the NDIS was supposed to be about helping people with serious disabilities. People who are in wheelchairs, for example, physical things. And it's strayed very much from that path. And the NDIS is actually bigger than Medicare now. They spend more money on the NDIS than they do on Medicare. So this has been a long time coming. Bill Shorten, when he was a disability minister, he sort of spearheaded some of this. But the states don't like this because they're saying that their own budgets are stretched far enough. And so Jim Chalmers...
whack them with a big old chunk. As you say, 30% of all cases.
Yeah, well, he was saying, well, we'll just cut your hospital funding now if you don't get on board with this.
That's a threat.
It sure is.
I'm just going to fuck your hospital funding. There you go, if you don't want to get on board. Who can say no?
So look,
Well, maybe
So
if you
this
do a
is bad.
cost-benefit analysis and say, yes, our hospital can make this much cut with this in order to not get hit up with the NDIS autism spectrum. Fuck.
So it's for children with mild to moderate autism are being diverted away. So I guess if you're a full-blown spastic, then you can stay on the NDIS and get whatever.
Look,
I
like
mean,
for most cases of autism, it's just like, you know, basically hyper picky eaters and sometimes antisocial behavior. I understand that, like, one of the guidelines is like violent outbursts and etc. Those are things that do cause identifiable monetary damage, and you need specialized care for because they are.
The swing to judge things by monetary.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what you're paying out, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're paying out money, then we should fucking receive a receipt for, like, an invoice for how much money it costs. It's an insurance scheme, not a fucking fund.
yeah, and well, remember, organized crime are like heavily involved in the NDIS because there's a lot of money to be skimmed there. So,
Thinking of those old fogey retirement funds coming into people who are already well and truly dead, and the kids are just getting them paid out to them still. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on to climate and energy. So, Susan Lee, the opposition leader, if you've forgotten, she's being pressured to hold a joint party room debate for the coalition. So that means the Liberal Party and the National Party on the issue of dumping net zero. Now, remember, this may have actually been what caused the temporary divorce between the Liberals and the Nationals that happened not long after their election loss. It turned out to only be a week. However, it definitely obviously shows that there is tension there when it comes to things like supporting nuclear power and also just meeting the whole net zero target. So this followed a meeting of the Liberal National Party in Queensland, where they voted overwhelmingly to abandon the commitment to net zero by 2050. So, all right, granted, the Queensland branch is said to be a little bit more right-leaning, a bit more conservative. Nonetheless, it was supported overwhelmingly. So Susan Lee says that she welcomes a debate on that and that the coalition is committed to a review of energy policy that will be led by Dan Tehan, and a comprehensive review of the coalition's energy policy is underway. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a joint party room debate on it. That's just like, okay, we're doing reviews. We're doing the paperwork involved. But will she actually sit down the two parties in a joint party room and debate the whole issue? And that is where I really wish they would have cameras, because you can imagine how fiery that would get. It'd be better than an episode of Question Time. I'd love to see that. So David Littleproud, who is the Nationals leader, and I believe he is from Queensland. Because he was present at that LNP meeting. And he said that, look, not only do they need to abandon net zero, but they need to support a transition into nuclear power.
Yeah.
Now,
all right.
I heard
some common sense when it comes to policy is good to hear.
Yeah. I heard an interesting theory about the trajectory to nuclear power, and that is, I don't know if you guys know this, but the use of artificial intelligence, so programs like ChatGPT, are actually
just keeps pointing back to the nuke.
They're really power intensive. And
yes.
a lot of companies,
Grok, is this true? Are you really power intensive?
Oh no, I've tried that before. No, they will actually tell you the truth. Well, ChatGPT did anyway. But a lot of the companies that are invested in AI, they used to be the companies that always tout their own products as being environmentally friendly or carbon neutral or something like that. And a lot of those companies have now abandoned that sort of language and marketing because of the fact that they're heavily invested in AI, and they're also, they want to back up the energy requirements that are going to be needed to fuel AI. And when you look at some of the projections in terms of its growth and how much extra power we'll need, basically you're not going to get there unless you go with wide-scale nuclear power.
AI development is just basically adding like several times 10 to the power if and statements to an algorithm. Like literally, that's what like an entire neural model is. It's just basically feeding material in to generate more if else statements.
But that's power intensive, isn't it?
Yes, it is. That's why they call it spaghetti code.
Grok, I'm going to need you to write up a plan of how we power you without using nuclear power. That'll please everybody.
Wait until we find out the true AI, the true artificial intelligence. 2,000 Indian engineers at a call center.
Fuck it. It's probably a whole lot less energy intensive.
Dude, I'm not even joking. They fucking caught an AI company for basically doing that. Oh man.
Hey, that was the environmental AI company.
Shit, rocket powered AI.
Superpower by 2020.
Okay, now here's another thing from the productivity roundtable. Guess what? Labor is not on track to get to an 82% reduction in emissions by 2035. So the Environment Minister, Murray Watt, said that he's going to introduce a bill to reform the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act.
All right.
So let's get to the nut of this issue here. They're examining a target of between 65 and 75%. And the Australian...
It lowers every time.
So business figures have told the Albanese government that a higher climate goal needs to be accompanied by reforms if we're actually going to get anywhere near it. Now, part of that is relaxing environmental regulation on mining and mineral companies in Australia.
And soon housing companies.
Yeah. A lot of this is to do with Aboriginal groups and getting over that hurdle, which basically means paying them off, paying Aboriginal corporations as they're known. And they need a way of like streamlining that. So that apparently, amending that bill is what's going to get them there. Okay. Oh yeah, there's been another wind farm that's gone kaput. So this...
Yay, another officer down.
Yeah. This is from the company Equinor, which is a Norwegian-based company.
Yeah.
They were supposed to... This was a wind farm already signed off on. Chris Bowen, the minister, had approved it. But yeah, they've pulled out.
Offshore wind farm in the Hunter.
Yeah, so it was supposed to be done in conjunction with an Australian-owned company, but the Norwegian side of it has pulled all their investment out, and now it's not happening. Yet another one. So many of these bite the dust.
Again, Planet of the Humans. Planet of the Humans is a good the only documentary by Michael Moore, or at least produced by Michael Moore, that I tell people to watch, because the rest of them are fucking dog shit.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I'm wondering if you have a comment on this story, Nolsey. So there's been a study put out that says in Australia, traffic-related air pollution contributes to around 1,800 premature deaths per year. So it says this is significantly less than a 2023 estimate of more than 11,000 deaths, but it's still higher than the annual road toll.
The hell?
I don't know. How many people go to hospital saying, like, you know, car fumes made me sick?
Yeah, I was going to say they might be like saying like, oh yes, like rises in emphysema while deductions in smoking. But the thing is, we're also in this weird period in the medical industry where we're seeing a quote unquote unexplained rise, and literally, I think it's in like men between the ages of 30 and 40, like 6 or 7 different types of cancer. One of them also, yes, being emphysema, which is weird because smoking is, you know, taken a nosedive in this country. But yeah, no, it's one of those things, like we've got this rising rate of cancer. I'd like to see what specific source of information, what specific health conditions are they saying are causing these premature deaths.
Yeah,
but,
and I mean, they're also just saying it contributes to it. They're not saying it's the primary cause.
Okay, well then, yeah, they're probably just saying because exhaust are carcinogenic, carbon monoxide's carcinogenic, even with catalytic converters, you get some amount of it.
I see on the buses nowadays, they got the electric buses and they basically have breathe easy. This isn't run by, so it's fine to breathe with these buses rolling on by.
Yeah, I mean, it's going down, so I guess it's becoming less and less of a problem, even with the data set they're using being accurate or inaccurate.
I'm worried that these might be depths of despair, the old tailpipe into your cabin routine.
Well, they're saying this is one of the reasons why we need to transition to electric vehicles. Apparently, it's just healthier for us.
We need more deaths by immolation.
And buildings burning down because, that thing's on fire. Oh, well, time to watch.
I love that anytime you interview firefighters about electric vehicles, they're like, yeah, if you see one on fire, like, just please call us immediately. It's like, it's a pain in the ass to put out. We have to get a specialized kit to put this shit out.
Some sort of large rope, drag it around there and then drag it right into the middle of the street where hopefully it won't burn through the tarmac, I guess.
More or less, yeah.
Okay,
everyone's got a different method, but yeah, it's a specialized process.
We have a large thermite grenade going off in our car park. Hopefully, it does not ignite the other thermite grenades everywhere parked right next to them.
Fucking Christ.
Okay, so back in 2022, the Albanese government set aside $20 billion for the Rewiring the Nation Fund. So that was designed to upgrade Australia's electricity grid. In 2023, the federal government signed a deal for $3 billion of that money to be set aside for Western Australian projects. Now, the ABC understands that not a single dollar has been allocated to a single project under that deal.
Oh boy.
So...
Oh, again, did you see those rural lights in Victoria as well? Because they are in relation to this. They're now protesting because they're like, yeah, you've already done this to like a handful of our neighbors. Put in some like green transmission lines and stuff, and it's completely wrecked their ability to farm on some parts of their property. So get fucked.
How do you stop farming with that? What, the cows won't graze under it, or you can't spray your crops under it?
You can't spray your crops. There's certain types of pile driving equipment for staking and basically soil aeration you can't use. And also, you do realize just because the tower is tall doesn't mean there isn't an electromagnetic field that radiates off of it that will arc to anything within it. And these lines need to be, these lines need to be ultra high voltage to transmit. But
so they're inducing a dust bowl all along the line of those electric lines.
Yeah, and also it's there was like land seizures and etc. One guy just didn't agree, and they just showed up and put it in anyway, and then gave him a pittance for it. But it doesn't surprise me that like the grid thing, like literally, it's taken got about like 180 years of constant work to get to where we are in the Australian power grid. It's going to take like for where they want to be by like 2030. It's going to take, I think, God, I said something that was like hundreds of billions of dollars, and that's literally just like and then 8% of that is just the cost of metal, and we're not even fucking talking about the labor cost at that point.
And we're not gonna smelt our own metal. We're not going to have some sort of nationalist industry of smelting in order to make infrastructure, which would be the most efficient way, if quite costly. Ugh.
Oh no!
Got to ship it over there, ship it back over here, ship them over here as well. Fuck.
Hand you the bill at the end of the day.
In South Australia, we've got a small Australian startup called Australian Rare Earths. They're looking to extract rare earth minerals in southeast South Australia and parts of Western Victoria.
Sounds like an existential crisis.
To help us build electric vehicles, wind turbines, and other renewable and defence technologies. So the Malinowskis government, the Labor government in South Australia, is rejecting calls for a detailed vulnerability assessment of this strip mining, as it's called. But they're going to fully investigate any application in a region that underpins the state's economy. So I guess they're going in with the full, the usual kind of regulation that's involved here, but not so much that they would actually impede the process. And this is one of those interesting cases where you have environmental groups who kind of oppose this land being mined. But at the same time, you have environmentalists saying, no, we need these rare earth minerals to make the technology required.
Well, that's just what they put up there to protect themselves. They keep harping on about it, but I think it's an apt thing of the blood above the doorway, so God doesn't come in and kill your firstborn.
Yeah, well, also like the wind farms that kill all the birds.
Yeah.
Like Bob Brown is really opposed to the wind farms, for example.
Ironic.
Yeah.
Well, maybe those out at sea. There goes the little migratory birds. Rip your little derricks. Little butcher birds flying along, going after your fish. Whack. At least the fish will eat well.
Okay. Last story was just the electricity giant Engie. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Again, this is in South Australia. Might be why I've never heard of them. But
we only have one.
This guy lives in it's just him and his wife. They got a $1,200 bill for electricity usage that was just for 1 month. So the ABC profiled a number of South Australians who had received price corrections in the mail from Engie, where they had corrected their price to be a lot higher than what they're used to. But yeah, Jesus, $1,200 for 1 month of electricity. Wow, what the fuck? I don't know all the fine details there, but something dodgy's going on.
Were they running a grow up?
Well, it's illegal in America. I guess they just want to get ahead of it. Fuck.
Okay. We've covered that story on the environment. So let's go to Aboriginal news. Just a quick story, again in South Australia, of where you have corruption entrenched in the system. So South Australia's remote, I'm not going to bother naming that, some bloody Indigenous land. They've been ordered to remove its general manager from his role after a review found that a lengthy process to replace him was deliberately abandoned. Now, just to cut us a long story short in this one, It found that this guy had been kept in a job for 3 years, during which time he pocketed around $375,000 in salary expenses, and they deliberately extended the process of investigating him so that he could stay in that job longer. And by the way, I don't know if this happened, but usually when you're being investigated for something at work, you don't go to
the
work.
train stops. You don't keep chugging along.
You stay. You get you keep getting paid, but you don't go to work. So yeah, just another example of that for you. Now in Victoria, the first People's Assembly. So this is sort of like an Aboriginal voice type thing that they're implementing. They're going to be given power to establish its own educational institute.
Oh God, what are they going to teach? Paint huffing?
This is also part of the treaty agreements. Remember, they have Aborigines have a treaty with the Victorian government now. So yeah, the article says there's no full details on this, and the cost as well is confidential, we're being told. But yeah, you can expect some kind of Aboriginal academy. I don't know. There's a few of them here in Perth. I know there's one called Ab Music, for example. And what a surprise, you actually see police vehicles there quite often. There's one I can think of where I saw cops going in and out of it all the time.
Okay. I mean,
the police
just because they keep
back and forth to uni.
Just because they keep going back and forth to there and upper decking their toilet doesn't mean you need to call it out, opinion.
Okay. We had a similar story in Western Australia. This is in the Kimberley region. They're getting their own kind of Aboriginal body together. Apparently, this is for them to speak together with one voice to give the region's Indigenous people greater control over government decisions that impact them. That means mining royalties. Okay, let's move on to crime. So, the Queensland government has been accused of overreach over funding rules for community youth justice organisations. The reason why is because they effectively have imposed, what the ABC is calling a gag order. So the Youth Justice Department, people who work for it, there's contractual requirements regarding media. And that means that you cannot speak to the media without written permission. So the Labor opposition in Queensland is accusing the Queensland government of a culture of silence. They've actually pointed out that this has been long-running practice, however. Because, they're not the only department that has rules about what you can and can't say to the media or the manner in which you do so. But of course, this is just going by this conspiracy that the Liberal or the Conservative side of politics in Australia is unfairly targeting Aboriginal people and jailing them. That's only true to the extent that more Aborigines are going to jail now. That's true. But not because they're being deliberately targeted. It's because they're actually enforcing the law. That's what it means.
Yep, some criminal noticing going on there.
Okay, now, South Australia, and this makes me think of Stefan Molyneux. Do you guys know he's actually back on YouTube now?
Oh, neat.
Oh, boy.
What a world.
Let's see if he gets even a tiny piece of his audience back.
Oh, he's still within living memory, Knowlesy. Don't be rude.
Yeah, I'm not sure how he's going viewership-wise, but he's actually been back on for about 2 months. I just didn't. I only just recently noticed. Anyway, the reason this story reminds me, this is a recommendation coming from the South Australian Royal Commission into domestic violence. It said, and I'm surprised this wasn't already the case, but they should outlaw corporal punishment in the family. So, in other words, parents hitting their kids. I thought that was already illegal in like pretty much across the whole country. Apparently not. South Australia, apparently you're still allowed to smack your kids. So,
Wouldn't recommend it.
Colin, you would be on suicide watch over that. But no, I don't
going back
support
there.
I don't think
There's a
that's a
threat
good
for-
way of, disciplining a child.
There's a threat for your kids. If you don't behave correctly, we're gonna move to South Australia. I'm gonna legally beat the piss out of you.
Well, there's a nice property sitting right there. I'm going to buy the fuck out of it. I'm pulling it out of the cupboard. Getting ready to get rid of this house. Fuck.
Okay, now in Victoria, you've got supermarket owners, but also unions who represent many of the people who work at supermarkets like IGA. They're very unhappy with the Victorian government for failing to.
We're getting the America treatment, team.
There's been a huge increase in the amount of hold-ups, in other words, robberies of supermarkets, and also what they
Vibrant
call
African culture.
smash and grab raids. So, if you follow the story that's in the prep there, it's got CCTV footage from a number of robberies in Melbourne. They're usually done with machetes now.
Yeah, I'll give you a hint. Black hoodies,
in that machete.
black hoodies, black balaclavas. Everything on that silhouette is black, and machetes. Would you like to connect the fucking dots?
But wait, hold on. I thought we outlawed machetes in Victoria. How did they get them?
It's weird that like when a government says that like they're outlawed, they disappear into the ether. It's not like a machete is quite literally being made in this.
I lost my machete in a boating accident. Fuck.
It's not like people literally can just make a machete with a piece of sheet metal and a stone like they do in Central Africa.
What's the difference between a machete and a knife? It's kind of a length. Are we getting sword territory? That's why it's no longer a knife.
You fucking knows.
Sort of in the middle of being a knife and a sword, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, for fucking off brush, but yeah, get it from your local Bunnings and hold up a hardware store on the cheap.
I hope they don't outlaw one of my people's traditional instruments, the lang messer.
I'm gonna stand here and start swinging this sword, and if you get hurt by it, that's your own damn fault.
No, it's not a sword. It's not a sword. It's a lang messer. It's just a particularly long knife.
Oh, I must be thinking of that giant fuck off sword that knights in fully armored would be just whirling it around them in a pattern and then walking into the peasantry.
Not how it was used, but okay.
Zealanders or whatever it's called.
Two-handers. That's more or less what
They're
it
just
translates
whirling it
to.
around in a figure of 8 pattern, just chopping the peasantry up.
Okay.
Knife laws are ridiculous. They have been for thousands of years.
We've got on crime. We don't usually do this, but this was like a hit piece, actually, that the ABC ran, because the Country Liberal Party have been in power for 1 year now in the Northern Territory. And what they've been most known for is their law and order measures. So the ABC basically did a summary on what they've done in the past year. And this, remember, is supposed to look bad. I read through this and I was like, this is great. So the age of criminal responsibility was lowered from 12 to 10. There's tougher bail legislation, extra police powers, and public drinking laws. Within
So the
6
kids
months
no
of
longer
taking
get pissed
power,
so much that they pass out in the middle of the street. Great.
so
Problem
since
solved.
the 6 months of taking power, 402 children that are mostly indigenous have been held in police watch houses. That's around 1.5% of territory children aged between 10 and 17.
You know what?
Spit hoods.
They're probably safer in those watch houses than going.
Oh yeah.
They are.
You know, Finian. You know, Finian. What's the worst part about getting raped by your drunk father?
The hypocrisy.
The disrespect. We're joking about it, but it's a real documented problem, and also we've been keeping them down on the farm as well, which I mean, like, I don't know, they probably are happier down there.
Spit hoods have been reintroduced.
Thank fuck. Those poor police have been
600 adults are being held now because of changes to the bail laws.
I wish less of them were.
There's an overflow of prisoners in both jail and watch houses. And you've got up to 20 people sharing singular cells in horrible conditions. Okay, that sounds kind of bad, but just build more jails. There should be more Commonwealth funding to build more jails.
Plenty of space up there.
And also, the public is going to have the right to carry pepper spray for self-defense.
All right. It will no longer be a machete fight off. You can just pepper spray and run away.
All right.
Jesus.
Just quick story. The Northern Territory just had local elections, meaning like council elections. Apparently, there was a record low number of Aborigines turning up. Is that because they're all in jail now? I'm wondering.
I didn't put those two together.
That's a legitimate question.
Rob.
Well, that's why I put that story right next to it. I'm like, is there a link here?
Maybe they gave up on bussing them out there, so they're just not voting. Maybe they're no longer advertising for them because they've basically looked at the cost benefit and said, not this time, next year. Next time we do elections, then we'll bus them out when it's winnable.
Maybe. Okay, so let's go to the states. We've actually got a few stories from state politics this week. So first of all, it looks like the dust has finally settled in Tasmania. We've got another minority Liberal government that is still being headed by Jeremy Rockcliffe. That did make the leadership of Dean Winter, the Labor Party, untenable. So this kind of came as no surprise. He tried to pass another no confidence motion in the government, and he failed to get that. One of the reasons why is because he wasn't negotiating with the Greens on the issues that they wanted to negotiate on, such as salmon farming and old-growth forest logging. So effectively, that no confidence motion being voted down, in a way, was a no confidence motion in the Labor Party and the leadership of Dean Winter. So that was really the final act he could do as leader. So he stood down, and now we have a new leader of the Labor Party, and his name is Josh Willie. Yes, that is actually his name.
God, we don't even need to make a nickname for him. Oh my god.
The old mate Willie.
So
he takes a
Mr.
beating.
Willie,
he takes a beating in the polls.
He former primary school teacher. He's married. He's got 3 kids, and I'm not going to bore you with what else. He's been the shadow treasurer and minister for cost of living and shadow minister for Aboriginal affairs. Aboriginal affairs. There's like no Aborigines in Tasmania.
So
There's no
here's the
full-blooded
thing is,
ones.
well, yeah, if you've handshaked a couple of generations ago, you got that sweet DNA claim to say, yep, get me those, give me that, because nobody exists and nobody's to say I ain't.
So look, that doesn't mean it's all rosy for the Libs, though, because now they have an 11-member crossbench that they have to deal with. Now, that is, if I'm remembering correctly, that's 5 Greens, and then all the rest are independents, and they're mainly left-leaning independents. Some of them like got in on the back of being like one-issue candidates, like against salmon farming. So,
Yep, got to save that
okay,
skate.
they may be holding on, but it's going to be very difficult for them to pass legislation because they basically got to run it by the crossbench every time. So, yeah, won't be easy. Okay, now I found this next story very interesting. This again is from South Australia. The premier there, Peter Malinauskas, has said that we need to embrace the end of woke.
Boast.
He also said, well, he said a number of things. So this was a podcast that he did that was released last Wednesday. He said that we can't have a hands-off approach when it comes to social media or to artificial intelligence. And that Labor needs to better connect with disillusioned young men and also Australians of faith.
Right.
And, I think
Free
those
Mecha
two
Hitler
groups,
as well.
well, yeah. So look, what he's saying is, he said that like more and more young men are becoming disillusioned with politics, and especially the mainstream left-wing parties, because they're seen as unmasculine. So he said that it is that lack of appeal to this demographic of young men that is pushing them towards more dangerous online figures like Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate always fucking comes up. Always
He's a
mentioned.
good poster child for it.
It's just perfidious, and people. It's a very kind of like weird group. I think someone accidentally leaked like his fan list and like the signups for Hustler University. Would you like to guess one of the most popular names on the list? By the way,
Mo?
Mo Dix. No,
Mohammed.
No, Mohammed.
Singh. Oh, Singh actually. Singh.
Ah,
But yeah, no, like normal people kind of despise him, and he's got like a million fucking sound bites where he's saying, "I'm not a cuck," but he's saying some pretty fucking heinous shit.
done to a low reverb. Sweet dreams are made of thee.
Yeah, but look, he's saying that like the mainstream left parties, like the Labor Party, also need to stop talking down to Christians. And I don't think it's mentioned in this article, but I think part of the reason he's saying that is because a lot of those disillusioned young men and women too, I would say, are actually becoming religious. This is the first time in a long time where you've seen like a new generation of people actually embracing religion. And
Well, there's no hope in the material. There's no hope in the nihilistic. God has rejected the Western world, etc. Yeah, there's
a little bit of impoverishment goes a long way for the faith.
It's also seen as a reaction to woke culture, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would argue that
I could see it as being just that. It's hey, what did wokies hate the worst? Person wearing a big old cross.
Well, it's sort of I guess Christian nationalism, right? That's one of the the new terms being thrown around, I guess, is sort of like the revolutionary cultural movement at the moment. the left have won the culture wars. They're mainstream.
Oh yeah, they got their hands gripped firmly on the levers of power in media and all that.
Yeah, it's no longer rebellious to, spout those kind of talking points because it is the establishment now. Political correctness just rules the roost. And if you want to actually be edgy, you want to be revolutionary, you want to be countercultural, then taking on an identity like being a Christian or a Christian nationalist is one way you can do that.
Yeah. Christian nationalism.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds just like it's easily going to be used as a weapon. Like, I don't want a whole bunch, just like the.
I want to know where that term came from as well.
Yeah, because like the whole bunch of people who went and died in Ukraine, don't want a whole bunch of people going and dying in Iran, because hey, we're nationalists of a Christian faith. We're gonna die in this holy war. Fuck.
Okay, next story. Good news here. This is on the New South Wales Liberals and an ex-Liberal MP in the New South Wales Parliament, Daryl Maguire. Do we remember this guy? This guy is actually the former boyfriend of Gladys Berejiklian, who's, of course, was the former of New South Wales.
One of the shooting range, the nicely expensive shooting range on the taxpayer dollar, as you do.
Gladys, in my opinion, is a crypto Jew. I think she's Jewish and she lies about her identity. And by the way, her current boyfriend
Lebanese
is
Tucker.
Anyway, and she, I believe she was born in Jerusalem as well, but she calls herself Armenian. But anyway, that's another story. So Daryl Maguire has been found guilty of giving misleading evidence to ICAC, which is the Commission Against Corruption. So
that's a horribly bad thing to do.
It is. Well, so this actually dates back to 2018. I'll just quickly tell people, if you don't know, Daryl Maguire was doing a lot of underhanded things in his capacity as an MP. One of them was basically getting, it was pork barreling, like getting government grants for facilities in his own electorate. And it was during that time he was dating the Premier. So obviously, he was able to get some favours done for him. But the other one, which was far worse, was he was running a migration scam as well. This was about getting Chinese nationals into Australia on working visas. And basically, he was providing fraudulent documents for them to do so. So that didn't get so much coverage at the time, though. And if you ask me, he should have gone to jail for that. But nonetheless, he has just been handed a 10-month jail sentence for misleading ICAC. And this was to do with seeking a payment for brokering a deal on behalf of Chinese property developers.
Oh, boy.
When he was cross-examined on that, he lied. What a surprise. Okay. Queensland. So the Liberal National Party, I think they've just had this. So this is an all-day cash for access LNP fundraiser. And the bill is actually, in terms of the costs of this operation, is entirely taxpayer funded. And you have business leaders and lobbyists who donate $8,800 for a 15-minute meeting with ministers and the Premier.
Fuck?
Cash for access, that's what it's called. But it's actually just a fundraiser for the LNP. And at the time of this article, they said it was tipped to raise over $100,000. It has, I remember reading that this has actually happened now, so I'm not sure how much money was actually raised. But they defended it, and defended it before they did it, defended it after it happened. that is just, you know, the idea that basically, to be able to influence the political outcome in this country means you have to like pay a direct fee to the minister. That is ludicrous. Right
This
there.
isn't usual corrupt business. This is the fucking financial streamlined. I hope they had a very good fucking jig dance and jig to give them in those 15 minutes though, because
Yeah. I don't. This is a weird type of corruption. I don't think this is a native type of corruption, Finian.
Right. Well, the other thing that they've done, the premier, by the way, is David Crisafulli. He's saying that one of the reasons why the Liberal Party's lost the federal election is because there was a plethora of well-meaning right-wing campaign groups that fractured the party. I probably need not remind people that David Crisafulli is very much a liberal moderate. He supports net zero. He opposes nuclear power. And he's made comments like this in the past as well. So he's basically saying the Liberals should look like the Teals and then they will win elections.
No. I mean, I'm pretty sure the capitulation on certain social policies recently was what basically got them thrown in the dumpster nationwide, right? Oop.
nope, I can still hear you.
I was going to say, did we lose Finian?
He may be exorcising his cat.
Oh, okay. All right.
I thought the sound of the room changed.
Okay. Victorian Liberals. So the former leader, John Pesutto, he was, of course, sued by Maura Deeming for defamation. He lost. Now, he had to pay, I believe it was around $400,000. But that wasn't the bulk of the expenses. He had to pay the legal fees of Maura Deeming's legal team as well. Now, that actually totaled $2.3 million altogether.
Me.
Now, the Liberal Party itself actually loaned $1.55 million to John Pesutto. The reason they did that was because the only other way this was going to transpire would be if he went bankrupt. If he becomes bankrupt, he's automatically kicked out of the parliament and they go to a by-election. The Liberal Party did not want to deal with that.
They have to keep him cooking. I think I remember this story. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the way it works. You are automatically expelled if you are found bankrupt during your time as an MP. So,
no, it's but I like rules like that. You're a poor person, get the fuck out.
But they did this very grudgingly because remember there was a hell of a lot of people in the Liberal Party who didn't support him. They were on Maura Deeming's side instead. This was a very, very grudging loan that was given. But anyway, there was also 200 other individuals who either lent him money or gave him money outright because he still had like around, $800,000 to go. The Liberal Party wasn't supplying all of it. Now, here's some of the people who gave him money or lent him money. Former Premier Ted Baillieu, current MPs Georgie Crozier and Tim Bull. But by far the most interesting individual to have given money was Simon Holmes à Court.
Uh-oh.
You know who he is? He is the leader of Climate 200, who finances all of the Teal candidates. So very interesting.
There
But
goes a lot of that teal money.
would dole out money to a liberal moderate. And that is interesting. So I guess it does show that, like, the Teals are to an extent represented by the moderate factions in Australian politics in the Liberal Party, because
Allies of diplomatic convenience. Just enjoying each other's company for a bit before they face the public and be against each other.
yeah, but man, that guy's like political career, what a failure! Like, he was only leader for like a very short amount of time, and then gets successfully sued by someone who he did have kicked out of the party, who's back in the party now, I believe, more redeeming.
That's a trophy and a half to hang on your wall. Look what I did to this bloke.
$3 million. All right, now let's go to another state MP who might also be facing bankruptcy and thus an automatic expulsion from parties. So this time in New South Wales, we're actually talking about Mark Latham. Now, I believe at the moment he is appealing the defamation suit that he lost, and this was brought by Alex Greenwich. Do you remember him? He's the gay MP. Latham said, like, it's disgusting to put your dick in a guy's ass and cover it in shit. That was
objectively
basically what he said. Now, he was ordered to pay around about $500,000, I think. And again, that does not count all of the legal fees. So I'm not exactly sure what it is exactly, but it's in the millions. Now, the Australian has uncovered some interesting information concerning the finances of Mark Latham. So back in 2017, he made some comments on Sky News, because remember, he actually worked for Sky News for a while. He made some comments about Christina Keneally. He called her corrupt. And Keneally said that she was going to launch defamation proceedings against him. So what was interesting is that, like, the very next day when Keneally said that, Latham actually sold his house, which is in Mount Hunter, to his then wife for $1. So
it sounds like a man of confidence.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the reason he did this was so that, he could declare bankruptcy
in case of lost.
Food, and then he doesn't have to pay any money. The thing is, he needn't have bothered. In the end, Sky News issued an apology, and that was as far as Christina Keneally took it.
Ooh, so lucky fucker! He basically was putting two together. I'm losing the house. Hey, darling, let me hand you this fucking house for $1. No worries. What if that worked? What if they said, "Oh, well, see, he no longer owns a house. $1 he do."
Oh, well, okay.
It is a sales contract.
He so in 2003, his ex-wife sold Latham back the house for $815,000.
Nice.
Now, however, that means, though,
this is the worst deal in the history of deals. I've never seen a deal any worse than this deal.
So anyway, this looks like he could actually make a big sale on this. They reckon that, because obviously prices have gone up, Latham could actually make about $2.3 million on that property. However, that might still be the amount that he's got to pay to Alex Greenwich when it comes to the actual the damages and the legal fees. And of course, that means,
honey, do you want a house?
if he's declared bankrupt, he gets expelled and he loses the house basically at the same time. So,
Fuck.
yeah, Latham could get really, really badly fucked over here.
Fun and games when it comes to your property being juggled around.
Yeah. Okay, so Fatima Payman, there was some guy in WA who threatened to kill her. His name is Sean David Sharman. He's Victorian. And so he sent an email, I think it was. It said, "Call me racist all you want, you cunt, but there is a 38 cal with your name on it coming for your Muslim hateful waste of oxygen cunt head very soon." Okay, he's not.
What
he's not
a
greatest.
delectable Fed post.
It's free real estate in the court.
He's not great at kind of formulating insults, I don't think. Calling someone a cunt head.
I'll fucking stab you.
Anyway, this guy got arrested for that. He's been released on bail, and he's been ordered to attend alcohol detox. Yeah. So I assume he's saying that he was pissed when he wrote that email.
Fair enough.
That's why he couldn't come up with a better insult than cunt head.
Isn't that the old the classic get your hands off my penis reasoning to pretend you're insane instead of drunk because there's worse laws against being drunk than insane?
I could be absolutely destroyed and come up with an insult that's like 15 times better than that.
So, Federal One Nation, remember they've actually got 4 seats now, but their 4th senator, Warwick Stacey, has actually resigned not just from the party but from Parliament altogether, from the Senate. He said that he has serious health issues that is forcing him into retirement. So that means One Nation is due to select a new senator. And according to the Australian, they're trying to make it a Pauline Hanson sycophant, which probably a good idea, though, because,
might be a bit
Pauline
in short
Hanson
supply there.
Well, yeah, but that's the other thing. Like, if you don't get a sycophantic senator, you've got one who's very likely to go rogue and
the old Jackie Lambie.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, just think of their own. Like, what's his name? Fraser Anning.
Yes.
He went, and then he
little hard in the paint. Little hard in the paint there.
Yeah, and there's other examples as well. Okay, now the health minister, Mark Butler, he says that he has expedited a review into the effects of puberty blockers on children. Now, there was basically a pause on approving the use of puberty blockers on children who are transitioning in Queensland, I believe, may be elsewhere as well. But the reason why is because it was a court order saying that basically there is not enough information on the dangers of these.
You don't say.
It's medication, yeah.
It's the castration of an entire generation.
So Mark Butler said it's up to the states to determine whether children can access the medicine. He says he doesn't want the federal government to get involved.
That's a cop-out.
But the federal government is responsible for this report that they're doing, and that's due. It's supposed to come out mid-next year, but he says he's expediting it now so that the states can quickly make their own decisions based on the evidence.
Oh,
So what evidence do you need? You're talking about mutilating children, literally. You're talking about fucking with their hormones and
For
their
a fucking
chemistry,
fad. A
and
kind of
literally chopping
religious
off their
fad as it comes to
genitals.
it, but a fad nonetheless.
oh, dude,
What
there
do you
was
need
certainly
a
like
report into that for?
again, like 5 years ago, we were saying that like, oh look, they're targeting mid-teenagers. 5 years ago, they wanted smaller children 5 years, and there was some interesting cases or novel cases 5 years ago of that being children. But now we're seeing 5 years down the line, the first ones that were targeted en masse are now 20-somethings. And how much of the crying turf of the detransition crowd are we seeing these days? Quite a bit. But they're still going with it.
Well, a lot of
Still
those ones,
fashionable.
who are legally adults now, they're suing doctors.
Yes.
Quite right, because
I wish you would go further.
no, and they actually use the youth of the children as a reason why they should go on puberty blockers, because they're like, oh no, we need to intervene early so that they don't go through puberty.
Castrate early and often.
Yeah. Okay. Next story is boring. Let's just go quickly onto tech.
Yep.
So again, the Productivity Roundtable said they've come to a breakthrough agreement. So this is between the tech sector and the union movement to develop a model to pay for copyrighted material that is used in artificial intelligence.
Oh boy.
So
We're about to see a big lawsuit if this comes to pass.
so here's a new one. The Tech Council of Australia. So their members include Google and Microsoft. They said they would work with the union movement on a path forward on copyright that allows AI training to take place in Australia, while also including appropriate protections for creators that make a living from their work.
Yeah, all your stuff's getting nicked. All
I
your
didn't really realize
information,
that
all
was
your works and art.
a demographic that unions covered. I mean,
This
Oh,
is all relatively novel. This has
Bloody-
been a thing.
Yeah, artist union. You'd imagine they would actually make it up and do
how
that.
many
Yeah.
members? How many members are in that?
Ooh, I
Yeah.
imagine they're quite well networked.
Well, I
You've
mean, I
got
was
plenty
messing
of
around
time
with
a
that.
day. You're not making that art,
Yeah.
are you? You're waiting on that art. You're just staring at it in the corner, fucking fearing it turning up. That art ready to bite you. Sorry,
again-
to tell you poor artists out there. I know how it'd be staring at that thing you need to do.
Yeah, well, that's basically all we got on that. So, sport. There's a topic that doesn't make its way into the prep very often. But Queensland will be forced to cover any cost blowouts during the construction of venues for the 2032 Olympic Games.
Oh fuck me.
So Albanese said that the federal government is not going to inject any further cash into facilities for Queensland to host the Games.
Look, just bring it back to New South Wales. We've got a perfectly good Olympic park sitting here waiting, ready to go. Just give up on it. Hand it to New South Wales. Ready to go. Right here.
Yeah, I wouldn't care. But you guys already had the Olympics once, so yeah.
Yeah, but now we've got the facilities. Might as well make it is the capital of Australia, New South Wales. Might as well make it the regular here.
Yeah, you still get even Australians, like born and bred white Australians, who think Sydney is the capital of Australia.
It's where all the politicians live.
I mean, but you can see that's why, like it's actually a pretty easy mistake to make. You know why they think it.
Yeah, you got where the president lives right across from basically the Sydney Opera House. Good view of everything. Anytime you're in the ferries, you get a lovely view of the Prime Minister's house.
The Olympics was there once.
You just got to go up the river a bit. Take the
It's
train.
also the only place where you hold the Commonwealth Games, and the Commonwealth Games is like normally meant to be held in the capital, but obviously the ACT is a boring little shithole.
It's a bit far away from any from any port, and cities are usually around ports.
The ACT is quite literally encapsulated by New South Wales.
As you do.
Oh, and
Okay.
the ACT was a cop-out, an afterthought. So that's why they're like, oh yeah, here's this big field that we won't have to do that much earthworks on. Let's just start building it here.
Oh, and it looks lovely.
Just two stories to finish us off. One of them is definitely good news. So the defamation suit brought by former Liberal Senator Linda Reynolds against her former employee, Brittany Higgins, has been decided on. Linda Reynolds has won.
Ooh.
So she will be awarded $340,000 in damages and interest.
Doesn't seem that much.
And that is not including the legal bill, you can imagine. So I imagine, well, actually, I think Linda Reynolds used the lawyer Sue Christenthau, who is one of our most high-profile litigation lawyers, and she is definitely not cheap. You pay through the nose to get access to her. So,
fun to be bankrupt.
Yep. So that's what Brittany Higgins is going to pay. And by the way, the reason for this is because Brittany Higgins essentially said that Linda Reynolds tried to actively cover up her alleged rape, which is just not true at all. If anything, she facilitated Brittany Higgins publicly airing the accusations. So, and the court agreed. They said, no, you did. You defamed her. That was done through the interview for the project, but also on a number of social media posts, I think Instagram and Twitter, back in the day. And also that David Shiraz was responsible too. David Shiraz is Brittany Higgins' partner. I think they're married now. I'm not sure. So that very well could eat up all the money that Brittany Higgins won from the government. So she got a massive payment out of court that was settled between her and the Commonwealth due to her mistreatment as an employee. And that was when she worked for the Department of, I think it was Home Affairs and also Finance, I think, for Michaelia Cash. It was a huge amount of money. I can't remember how much now. It was over $1 million. But yeah, this now means she might actually have to hand all of that over to Linda Reynolds.
Money well spent.
Yep. Okay, finally, Peter Dutton said he is not coming back. So remember, he didn't just lose the election. He actually lost his own seat of Dixon in Queensland.
Tears in the rain.
Now, worth saying, though, Peter Dutton actually did very well to hold on to that seat for the amount of time he did, because Dixon is a marginal seat. And when I say marginal, I mean it's held on a 0.5% margin. It's tiny. I think in 2019 he won by something like 100 votes. And so that was the other thing, very unusual to elect a leader from such a seat as well. Usually leaders are taken from the safe seats.
You're risking the bloody seat as well, because they'll see it in the national sense. And if it's going vote nationally, you're going to get polled nationally in your local seat.
Yeah, so I mean, when Dutton went and made his concession speech, he was conceding two things, the election overall and his own seat at Dixon. But anyway, he said that he thinks he's too old. I think he's 54 from memory, if I'm remembering correctly. So, he would be 56 or 7 by the time he would recontest.
How
So
old's
he's probably
Trump?
And he said
Getting into his
that
70s?
Susan Lee and David Littleproud are doing a great job at running the coalition. So
Oh boy.
Hardly heard of them. I guess they must be doing
more
great.
Dutton, no more of his alopecia-stricken bald head. No, I'm
Goodbye,
kind of indifferent.
Voldemort jokes.
I'm crying over you.
Okay, well,
Don't
that
cry
is
over
where
me.
we'll-
I'm already bald.
there you go, guys. Another 3-hour, one of our usual long ones
Beauty.
for you. So,
Oh, happy to be back. Happy to be making witticisms and learning what the fuck's been going on.
no, I prefer it with 3 people. I think 3 people is like the sweet spot, you can say.
Oh, and in
Bit more
true
free-flowing.
and in true memory fucking leaking out the side of my head. Yeah, Bog says you're late.
Oh god, I've got something terrible for you after the show, Finian. That's some more retarded shit. Just
Okay.
got one
well,
small
yeah, look, I'll
thing.
close. Well, thanks, guys, for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And I can't leave without berating you again. This Sunday, 31st of August, March for Australia, you will turn up. You will help us eclipse the numbers that they have been producing for pro-Palestine protests. Surely we can show up in support of our own country, in our own country. So make sure you're there. Okay, well, thank you for listening. Check us out at theracer.biz, and we'll see you next week.